Lab, CP3. You know who it is. It's a great victory Monday after such a great start to the NFL football season. We're going to talk about that in much detail in the 8 o'clock hour. You know, I got to be feeling good because we saw some beautiful things yesterday. But as we're back again, sports is on the everywhere. We got six sports. We're trying to cover six sports tonight and trying to fit it into. We know we're not going to fit it into a 2 hour show. So, but we have so much stuff to cover, so many good things and some not so good things for some of the other DC franchises right now. Well, franchise right now. But make sure you go check us out, sportsothp.com. Got all the shows. I'm not sure Robbie has probably everything updated for this week already too. That's just how good he is. But make sure you go check that out. Click on the Sports OTHP apparel line. You get the District of Champion shirt like you see my man Robbie rocking with the pillow in the background. You see I got the backdrop behind me. Or you can personally hit me up, inbox me for the Sports OTHP apparel t-shirts that we just rolled out with our partner Eric Husa. Shout out. Much love always. We got some good things coming, fall line coming out. So we got some sweats and some stuff that's about to change the game. They had y'all rocking some of the Sports OTHP apparel out there and showing your love for the show because y'all do so well on social media. Let's get y'all out there rocking some of our gear. Robbie, how you doing tonight, good sir?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Just sort of a crazy week, but it's been a good one. You know, I'm excited that we'll actually have some fun Mystic stuff to talk about. I know we haven't talked about them as much in the last couple of weeks, so they've kind of went on a downturn and they kind of are rebounded. So we'll talk about that in a second. But also breaking down, Nats did better last week, at least for like 500, I think. So somewhere around that, which is a positive.
Sad, go from one win to two wins to three, like we're crawling a baby ladder right now.
Right, but hey, you know, it's better than going the other direction. So,
Yeah, true.
so we've got that. What else? You know, we've got NBA. The roundtable will be joining us, so that'll be fun. Lots of great series to talk about there. And then I'm just so excited about the Washington football team. Like, the sense of joy that I had yesterday is something I haven't felt in a while for sports. Like, I was super excited the Capitals were back. I was really into that in the playoff run. But something about football where it's just like you only get those 16 regular season games, and when they started to make that comeback and that feeling started to come back inside of me, I was just like, oh man, this is a real game. I know there's no fans, but like this is real. Like, and I got real hyped. So that was really cool. And so I'm excited to break that down with all of you guys. And then to end it, we'll have some hockey talk. The conference championships have been very exciting. I know that they're both 3-1, but I think they're a little bit closer than maybe the record states. So it'll be fun to break that down with Anna at the end of the show. But yeah, just crazy sports time, trying to get 6 things in there. I'll say real quick that DC United did not win, so that they might not make the cut for a long extended part of this podcast, but they lost to the Red Bulls. But, you know, I'm excited about all the other sports. And I know that you wanted to break down the Mystics a little bit at the top, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
No doubt. And you forgot we're going to try to squeeze some boxing in there too.
Oh, yeah, boxing.
Have Paul, the boxing guy, on tonight also. So we trying to get 6 sports crammed to a 7 now that he didn't mention the United. So we're going for a record tonight. Last week we had, 6 guys on the round table for the first time. Now we're going to try to get 7 sports in one show for the first time. Yeah. As Robbie mentioned, the Mystics, you know, the world champion Mystics, we haven't given them the due respect this year that they deserve, being world champions, just like we covered the Capitals and the Nationals. So, you know, it's nothing personal, nothing that we're holding against the ladies. It's been, you know, all these sports going at once. And like Robbie mentioned, they were going on the downturn, so we really didn't have too many highlights when, you know, what was going on at the time. But currently they're 9-13. They've had a 4-1 week, won 4 in a row, which they needed to do to make the playoff cut, which looks like they'll be doing that to defend their title. They won, like I said, the last 4 out of 5 this past week, went 4-1. It's been a struggle. We mentioned, you know, when we spoken about them before, Lena De Leon is out, of some of the key players opted out. So it's kind of hard for their, you know, defense of their title, because they did, as Bobby pointed out to me, I had no idea that they had lost 11 out of 12 before they had won the last 4 out of 5, which put them in position to make the playoffs to try to defend their title. And they've been playing some good ball lately. And we saw this last year with them getting hot at the right time when they had a full cast. But just a quick rundown of the week that was on Sunday. They took a loss to the Dallas Wings, 101 to 94. Maisha Hines Allen led the team in scoring with 20 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1 steal. Tuesday, they got a victory over the Minnesota Lynx. That was an 89 to 86 victory. Once again, Maisha Hines Allen, who led the team. She had 26 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists. Thursday night, they faced the LA Sparks, who they defeated 80 to 72. Once again, Maisha Hines Allen led the team in scoring with 30 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals. Saturday, they had a game against the New York Liberty, which they defeated handily, 75 to 58. Once again, Maisha Hines Allen led the team in scoring with 45 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals. And on yesterday, to complete the 4-1 week, they defeated the Atlanta Dream, 85 to 78. This game, Ariel Atkins led the team in scoring. She had 26 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block. Tomorrow night they face the Phoenix Mercury, who's 13-9 for the last game of the regular season before the playoffs start. So the ladies are looking to defend their title, and we're definitely gonna make sure we pay them some attention on the show. Like I said, we've been trying to get them in, but it's been so much going on that unfortunately we didn't do our job properly. But we're gonna be on it now, covering the Mystics. As always, another DC champion. So got to give them their due respect.
Yeah.
What's going on, Robbie?
No, so I'm excited. I'm happy that they're going to get to play a game. It's do or die tomorrow, so they have to win that game to move on. They just barely did it. They had to get that last win yesterday and on Saturday because Dallas was right on their, I guess, right behind them. So yeah, so it was cool though. I have to give a shout out to Mark Moore, one of the early people on our Facebook feed, since I haven't even really shared it out yet. So what up, Mark? He says, "How about that Washington football team? Hope we can contain."
Let's go. I know Mark can't wait for football talk. I know he ready. He probably jumping
He's
out.
ready. He's like, it's already time. No, we got a little time before football talk, but we're definitely going to break it down. He says, "I hope we can contain Kyler Murray this Sunday." That's true. That's going to be a key to success. And so that'll be good. And yeah, so in a second, we're going to bring in our next guest in a moment, and then I'll share it out to a couple of baseball groups, and we can get some more interaction. So we appreciate anyone bringing in questions or comments. And yeah, it's I'm really excited for them, and I know that they were out a lot of players, and it was gutsy to be able to win 4 out of these last 5 to try to make it. And we'll definitely cover their playoff journey. Hopefully, it's a long one. Hopefully, they shock some people and come together and use this because they've kind of already been in playoff mode, having to win 4 out of 5. Maybe that can catapult them in the playoffs here.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. I mean, we saw that with the Capitals when they won it. They was in a dog fight to the end to win the division. It wasn't President's Trophy. They were, 20 points ahead of everybody. They had to fight to, get that position, and it carried over. Even they lost the first 2, but it carried over. Once they got clicking, they got going, and we saw the same thing with the Mystics last year. Once they got going, same thing with the Nets last year. Once they got locked in, once they won that wild card game, it was like they was on cruise control after that. After they came back, eighth inning, take the lead and advance. They was like on cruise control, so they get the play-in game tomorrow. Hopefully, they continue this winning streak and go into the playoffs on a hot streak. And you never know what happens when you hit the playoffs.
For sure, for sure. Well, I see that Arun is on, so let's bring him on, and we can get into some Nats talk about this sort of up and down week. I'll share it to a couple of Nats groups and let you guys know if there's any questions.
All right, sounds good. What's going on, Arun? How you doing tonight, man?
Not bad. Just enjoyed the Washington football team's win and ready to talk some Nats. I guess it was a 500 week.
Yeah, these Nats. Before we get into this nitty gritty of this 3-3 week, to me it's still pitching. They're giving up too many home runs, man. It was in the series versus Atlanta. It was so frustrating because we know Atlanta put up that 29-run game on Monday night. So normally when you put up that many runs, the next game, your offense might not be as potent. and I'm gonna break down, how things went down. But the Nats started off great, but then next thing you know, it was exciting. But the Nationals are sitting at 17-28, still bottom of the division. Last 10, they're 5-5. They went 3-3 this past week. To start the week out pretty good by sweeping Tampa, which we expected. We will always expect that to happen, but the way they've been playing this year, you never know. The first, it was a 2-game sweep, so like it was a 3-game series. It's something though to build on. I'm just so disappointed that they're this so far in the 500 and looks like they're not going to make the playoffs. I wanted to see them defend their title, even if it was a shortened season or whatever. But hey, that's my feelings. Don't have nothing to do with it. First game, the Nats won 6-4. Mad Max took the mound. He won the game, puts him at 4-2. He won 7 innings, giving up 6 hits, no earned runs, 8 strikeouts, and 1 walk. Uh, Charlie Morton took the loss for the Rays. He's now 1-2. He went 5 innings, giving up 4 hits, 3 earned runs, with 3 strikeouts and 1 walk. Daniel Hudson earned his eighth save of the season, going the third of an inning, giving a strikeout, no hits, no earned runs. Kurt Suzuki went 3 for 4 with the RBI, and Michael Taylor went 1 for 4 with the RBI double in that game. Turner's been heating up lately. We'll talk about him a little bit more in this next series coming up. Then in the second game of the series, Nats were going for the sweep, which they were able to pull off. They won the game 5-3. Annabelle Sanchez, you know, only lasted 5 innings, but he looked way better than he had previously. He had control. Uh, he wasn't walking a lot of guys. I mean, he only went 5 innings. He gave up 4 hits, 3 earned runs with 6 strikeouts and 2 walks. But he's been having like a tale of 2 seasons. Like he'll pitch some days like he did, and he'll have the control. Everything will be good. But then some days he go out there and he's giving up 3 or 4 home runs in the first 3 innings, and the game. And luckily, it's normally on the solo home runs, but still a deficit for your team to come back from. But he definitely pitched well in this game. He got the win that puts him at 2-4. Ryan Yarbrough took the loss, puts him at 0-3. He lasted 2 and 2/3, giving up 6 hits, 4 earned runs, with 1 strikeout and 1 walk. And Daniel Hudson earned his ninth save of the season, going 1 inning, giving up 1 hit, no earned runs with a strikeout. This was Soto's return to the lineup after the elbow inflammation. We talked about that last week that he had the MRI and there was no structural damage. So, I mean, all the home runs he's been hitting, and as well as been hitting his elbow a little sore from doing all that, I guess. But that was his first game back. He went 1 for 2 with 2 walks and an RBI. And Brock Holt, the guy they signed a couple of weeks ago, I forgot from what team, but he's been when Soto not in left field, they had Brock out there, and he's been playing good defense and hitting at the plate. So it's been a quality pickup, but unfortunately, maybe it's a little too late. Arun, did you get a chance to check out that 2-game series? What did you think about
Yeah, as you pointed out, the starting pitching was good for that series. Like Sanchez, unexpectedly, given that he's not been that consistent this year, but he was good last year. Soto, yeah, he came back as you said. It was good to see Sean Doolittle pitch well from the bullpen, and like they actually held on to the lead in the second game of the series. Um, yeah, Trey Turner was on fire again, and yeah, Howie Kendrick is missing, but it's good that Brock Colt stepped up.
it? Yeah, Howie. Yeah, he has a sprained hamstring. He's on the IL. It's the injuries this year is just in a 60-game season is like the injuries they had at the beginning of last year when it started out so slow. So I don't know. I can't call it. Robbie, did you get a chance to check out this 2-game series, or you was knee deep in hockey?
Yeah, I did see one of the two games. I'm trying to remember which one it was. But yeah, I mean, I was happy that they performed well. I mean, they kind of needed to, especially, I was hoping that there would be a big week for them. But I mean, they had to get the wins where you can find them, right? So, I mean, you just kind of take what you can get. But I don't know. I thought that they were going to do better against Atlanta. So I was kind of disappointed. It sort of set me up. I was like, oh, good. This is like the start of the week that we wanted. And then I feel like it was kind of a letdown after that.
Yeah, ironically, I forgot to put the stats up for the Rays. That was my bad. I was checking on some of my feeds, but Yeah, we can get to this Braves series. The Braves have just had their number this year. We spoke about the last series they played. Freddie Freeman with two grand slams, and Cooler had what 3 home runs in 2 games when they did the doubleheader. So it's kind of like the Nats are getting a dose of themselves from last year when they faced the Braves because they've been finding a way to win, no matter what the deficit, no matter how late in the game. And unfortunately, we saw that in this series that I mentioned. Atlanta had, before they started this series, they just put up a 29-run game, almost tying a major league record for most runs. So normally, as I said, when that happens, the other team, that team normally doesn't have the same offense the next day because they didn't, had so much fun the night before. But first game of the series was, I guess, the most frustrating because the Nats jumped out to a 5-0 lead in the first 2 innings, and unfortunately, it wasn't enough because they lost the game 7-6. As I was speaking about the home runs, Austin Voth started the game. I believe he gave up 2 home runs to help the Braves get their momentum going after the Nats had already built a 5-0 lead. Uh, he didn't take the loss. He factored in those things. They had a lead. When he got out the game, I think it was like 5-3. But yeah, these young pitchers, it's about that time they need to start getting their location together because they giving up these home runs, and then most of them are straight down the middle. I mean, I watch almost every game, so I'm watching these young kids, and Fetty, I thought that he was going to make that next step forward, but it's kind of like he's stagnating right now. Ball, he had a good season, the limited time he was up last year, but this year, yeah, it's not looking good at all. Tanner Rainey actually took the loss. That puts him at 1-1. He went 1 inning, giving a 1 hit, 1 earned run with 2 strikeouts and no walks. Chris Martin took the win for the Braves. That puts him at 1-1. He went an inning, giving up no hits, no earned run for 2 strikeouts and no walks. Um, and good old ex-Nat Mark Melanson got the save, his ninth of the season, going 1 inning, giving up 1 hit, no earned runs, no strikeouts, and no walks. Eaton went 2 for 5 with a 2-run home run and 2 RBIs, and Juan Soto went 1 for 2 with 3 walks and an RBI. He's been getting walked a lot. He's starting to get some of that old Bryce treatment out there, but he's taking the walks because his mentality is get on base to help my team, try to get runs across the plate. Second game of the series, the lone bright spot. It was a 12-inning game that the Nats ended up winning 8-7. They once again jumped out to a 5-0 lead, but unfortunately relinquished that due to some long balls given up by the pitching once again. Um, James Bork earned the win for the Nats. He went that puts him at 1-0. He went in and giving up no hits, no runs, no strikeouts, but 2 walks. And Grant Dayton took the loss for the Braves, puts him at 2-1. He went 1 inning, giving up 1 hit, no earned runs, 1 strikeout, and 1 walk. Michael Taylor ended up with the walk-off single in the bottom of the 12th off of Dayton. It was a little bloop that fell and scored Adam Eaton to give the Nats the victory in game 2. Eric Thames, he hit a solo home run. He went 2 for 5. That was his third of the year. He got 2 RBI. And Jan Gomes continued his hot hitting along with his stellar play behind the plate. He went 3 for 5 with a solo home run and 2 RBIs. That was his third of the season also. The third game of the series was a hell of a hell of a game. It was I don't know. It was kind of like a pitch and do. It was a 2-1 game. It was tight. Corbin unfortunately took the loss, puts him at 2-5 now. He went 7 innings, giving up 9 hits, 2 earned runs, with 8 strikeouts and no walks. Um, I think that's Ryan Anderson. I'm thinking. I'm not sure. I can't read my handwriting sometimes. But he took the win. Anderson took the win for the Braves. Puts him at 3-0. He went 7 innings, giving up 1 hit, no earned runs, 9 strikeouts, and 3 walks. Melanson earned his 10th save of the season, going 1 inning, giving him 2 hits, no earned runs, 1 strikeout, and 1 walk. Trey Turner went 1 for 4 with a lone RBI. They just couldn't hit this dude. He had a one-hitter for 7 innings, and the Nats just couldn't muster any offense about this dude. Atlanta's pitching, as we all know from going back to the '90s, has always been stellar, and I don't know how they continue to, do that. But they always find some good pitchers. Nats, we felt that way about them until we see some of these guys just pitching right now. And the final game of the series, where the Nats were trying to at least earn a split as they did last week, but they were unable to. Atlanta ended up winning the game 8-4. Mad Max took the loss, puts him at 4-3. He went five in the third, giving 9 hits, 6 earned runs, with 10 strikeouts and 2 walks. Kyle Wright earned his first victory of the season. That puts him at 1-4. He went 6 innings, giving up 8 hits with 3 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, and 2 walks. Cabrera went 1-for-4, 1-for-3 with a solo home run and an RBI. I didn't get a chance to check out this game. I was in the middle doing some other things and watching some other sports. Room, did you get a chance to check out yesterday's game? What did you take away from this 1-3 series loss to the Braves? That basically we already said last week that the playoff coffin is pretty much already dug, but that pretty much puts the exclamation point on it.
Yeah, the last game of the series was like Scherzer was pitching, and then the Nats again, like the first game of the series, they got off to a not as big of a lead, but still like a 4-2 lead, and then they ended up blowing it. I think Scherzer got the loss. The starting pitcher of the Braves was winless going into the game, which is kind of funny, but that's just the way the series has gone. In the first game of the series, they retired. The Nats retired the first 9 hitters of the Braves, and then it just like the Braves offense awoke and they lost like 7-6. And the second game was they also had a big lead and then Hudson blew that game. And it's pretty amazing that they even won the second game because the Braves left 23 runners on base, and the Nats Key Boom and Taylor tried to bunt the runner over in the second game, and they were, I don't know, they couldn't bunt. I don't know if that's bad code, like bad, they just have bad fundamentals, or like Davey Martinez doesn't know that they can't really bunt. The third game, Corbin pitched really well, but yeah, that was the first time the Braves got a pitcher that threw over 7 innings, starting pitcher, which is pretty crazy. And Turner extended his hitting streak to 12 games, but like as the series ended, he went 0 for 5. He had an RBI, but Soto didn't play in the last series, and they went 2-2. And in this series, he did play. They went 1-3. So go figure.
That's weird. I did see the Thursday and the Friday games. I was really disappointed that the Nationals kind of let that Thursday one get away from them. I thought they really had a great opportunity in that game, and Atlanta kind of took it over at the end, and that was kind of disappointing, and just sort of watching it fall apart for them. And then on Friday, I thought the same exact thing was going to happen, and so that was kind of disappointing because I was like, oh no, like we just saw this story, and it was pretty much the same scenario. But I was happy that the Nationals were able to find a way in the 12th inning to eke one out. And it was interesting because, like, at the end of the previous inning, the top of the 12th, they made some good defensive plays. And the announcer said, I think that they'll win it in the bottom of the 12th now. And that's exactly what happened, which I thought is true. It's interesting having this automatic runner at second base. And then still no one scored for that many innings. I was sort of surprised by that.
Hey man, I'm glad you said that because I wasn't really and I was wondering. I'm like, when did I miss the double? How did he get on second? I forgot they made that rule change for extra innings, Rob.
I did too, and I looked it up. I was like, why does there keep on being a double at the beginning of these innings?
I kept on looking up and like, who hit a double? How did he get on second already? I just looked up and there was nobody on base. I'm glad you said that, Robbie. You have solved the mystery that I forgot about.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. That's what I'm here for. Forgotten mystery solver. So, but yeah, it's kind of weird. I expected more scoring to happen. There was a bunch of bases loaded situations, or just in general, things where I thought that there was going to be some scoring happening, and they were able to get out of some of those jams, which was impressive. But and then I thought, oh man, this is going to stem the tide. And, I just kept having this false hope. I felt like the week of false hope where I'm like, they're going to suck. Oh no, they're actually doing okay. Oh, and then no, it's back to the way it was. So, we're making some strides, but yeah, it's drips and drabs, and we just don't have enough games to make it up at this rate. Like you could go 500 ball through a few weeks in a normal season, but And this season, when you're trying to make up ground and you've got to jump over like 6 teams, it's going to be difficult once we start having some perfect weeks or something. So
I think it's a little too late right now, man. They too far. They 11 games under 500 with not
They
even.
have a 4.7% chance to make the playoffs, and the 1931 start they had a 3.9% chance to make the playoffs.
yes, it's true. I
Hey,
like
I
it.
would love to be optimistic and think that they can make it happen, but I just don't think it's enough games to get the. I know that's an extra wild card spot, but I would
Yeah,
love to see it.
I don't know if there's enough pitching, even if they were to make it, to
Yeah.
get them in any significant run. Like they might like flame out in a wild card game. I could see that, but I don't know. They're not making the deep run we saw last year because we needed all those guys going. Yeah, we basically needed 2 MVP pitching and all the timely hitting. We needed everything to go right, and it did. And I just don't know if that's going to happen 2 years in a row.
Yeah, it's a long shot. I mean, last year was a long shot also, but with the shortened schedule, like you said, even if they do make it, who they gonna put out there, the pitch, because the pitching has been, I'm not gonna say horrible, but it's been horrible at times, but not horrible as a whole. But yeah, we haven't seen any other, what we saw last year from the domination from when the bullpen was struggling to when they got in the groove and had everybody locked in. And unfortunately, forgot to mention Doolittle back on the IR. IL. He actually pulled a core muscle again, so his season's pretty much done. That's why Daniel Hudson was getting, he was already getting most of the work in the ninth, but they've been putting, normally they would Davey would, switch up every now and again and let, Doolittle get the ninth. But yeah, Hudson has been out there a lot. He hasn't looked as crisp this year either. And I think the issue for real, I'm not gonna say the issue, but adding Will Harris from Houston, the guy that gave up the game leading home run for the national against the Nationals in the World Series, he hasn't been doing it this year. And whenever he comes in, he just, he doesn't look nothing like the guy that was in Houston. And I know Robbie's probably gonna link that to the, the cheating scandal somehow. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave that over for you. I'm gonna throw you the out. You go ahead and leave it, Robbie.
No, it's too easy. I don't need hand me ups. No, I just, but I just, I don't think any of the pitching's really like completely consistent, right? Across the board. I mean, you have Max Scherzer, who's always going to be amazing. Even he had faltered at moments, but everybody else is just a wild card. It's a question mark for me on any given night. It's just, and there's some innings where they put it together, and there's some they just don't. I don't feel like it's got that it factor with the veteran leadership. And I just think that the injuries have piled up a little bit. And I just think that there's such a short season to try to get everyone going in the right direction. And it's just doesn't seem to be there. So it is what it is. I'm not tripping. At least we have like 6 sports at once. Like usually baseball is the only thing on. And it's like, if they aren't doing well, then it's like a disaster because it's like, what else are you going to watch? Golf? What are we, Anna? So like.
We talked about that, man. We're not watching golf, bro.
I know. Anyway, I've got the upcoming schedule here. If you wanted me to break it down, or we can talk. Or do we still have more games, or we?
You can go ahead. I had to actually just put the graphic up on the screen just right now for the upcoming game. So yeah, you can break down the 2 series they have this week and just a quick scoring update. Pittsburgh and Giants are playing right now Monday Night Football. The Giants are up 3-0 with 6 minutes left in the first quarter. Pittsburgh has the ball. Rothenberg drops back. Had a nice screen set up with blocking, but he missed the pass because of a little bit of pressure. But yeah, we'll be giving some updates on Monday Night Football and the Western Conference Finals that will be starting shortly. I got both of those games on in the lab right now.
Yeah, I have to get my TV game going. But those will be the 2 games I'll watch as well. Yeah, it's weird because there's no NBA and there's 2 games tomorrow, but we'll break that down for sure in a few minutes. The Tampa Bay series and a Miami series, so it's heading to Florida, and Tuesday and Wednesdays against Tampa Bay. 6:40 start at Tampa Bay on Tuesday. It's a 1:10 start on Wednesday, and then in Miami they've got a doubleheader on Friday to make up some of the games they've missed. 5:10 first game. 8-10 scheduled second game. Remember, those are shorter, condensed games. They're not the full 9-inning affairs. Then on Saturday, There's another 6:10 Miami game. And then Sunday, there's another doubleheader. This one's a 1:10 for the first one and a 4:10 for the other one. So they're fitting 5 Miami games into 3 days. That's crazy. I knew it had to happen at some point, but this is the time where if we want any Hail Mary, a shot at any of this, right? If you could find a way to get 7 wins here, there's a shot. But
Yeah, I
they
mean,
got
if 15 games left, they're 11 games under 500. There's still a chance. It's just a small chance.
right, but it gotta start there, right? So
Yeah, definitely got a chance with the Rays and the Marlins. Marlins been, they're above them in the standings, so they've been playing better than the Nationals. But if the Nationals can get some quality pitching and, at least go at least 5 to 6 innings and not getting pulled in the third or fourth innings after you've given up 2 or 3 home runs, then they have a chance because this team still has offense. They have defense. If they can just get a lead and, the bullpen actually does their job, because I've seen dude McGlowan. He just came up. He was lights out the other day. Finnegan, he came in. He was the one that was in the bases loaded jam. They ended up getting out of it without giving up any runs. So they have some bright spots, but they're few and far between. And like you said, not consistent enough. But Rune, any takes on this season as a whole with the Nationals, and do you think that not knowing what the schedule is for the upcoming baseball, but do you think they'll be able to bounce back and get back to that World Series form, or do you think this is going to be another situation where they're going to have to rebuild because of the pieces that they've lost?
I think, yeah, just like that upcoming Marlins series, it's like a chance that they could do well. But like the Marlins, as you said, they gave up, they beat the Braves in the series like 2 out of 3 games, but in that one game they gave up 29 runs like against the Braves. So like you don't know, maybe it's gonna fall apart for them. The Phillies, I mean, they're like up and down, but they're still doing better than the Nationals. And I don't know if it's like a rebuild year. You might just chalk it up to injury. Strasburg is out. They've had like a lot of random injuries, like even Castro, he's went down early in the season. So I don't think it's a rebuild, but it's definitely might be. I You got to go 1-0 every day. You can't completely write out the season, but as fans, we can be pretty down about it.
Yeah, like FP said, with this shortened season, it's even you go 1-0, but when you go 0-1, it's 2.7 games. It's counting as one game for being shot down. I was like, damn it, FP, you had to break it down to the lowest degree, but that's the facts of it. Losses, like Robbie was saying, normally you can get hot and come back from being down this many games for the season so long, but when it's condensed down to almost a third of the regular season that you're normally used to playing, it's so hard to do it. So, Robbie, do you think this will be a trend? You think the team is going to be back in a rebuild mode when they go into a full season after this, shortened season, or do you think they'll be able to bounce back and get back to that World Series form once the players come back that are missing? Ryan Zimmerman, he already said he'll be coming back. Soto, he's been in and out of lineup with the COVID situation and with his elbow. And, there's been a lot of inconsistencies and the new pieces that they've added also. So what do you think, Rob?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think the Nationals have kind of done this for a long time. If you look back over their history, they've kind of had some years where they've had these great expectations and they haven't reached them. And then maybe they don't even make the playoffs. And then the next year when like the expectations are down a little bit, they sort of have this resurgence. And so if you kind of go back and forth, like they don't have a lot of consistent years in a row where it's like 10 years in a row of making the playoffs or whatever, or winning the division. It's like, they have won a fair amount of times the division over a relatively short time period that they've been around, but it's sort of this on again, off again. So I think if we're looking at it that way, plus all the, the freak injuries, the COVID situation, there's so many variables. You don't want to completely blow it up because you were just there. We just won it all the last time that they actually played it out. So if the injuries didn't happen and they had a full season, what would this year have looked like? We don't really know, but I wouldn't make too many changes. I think it's important that we keep some of our key pieces. Maybe some of the pitching moves around a little bit, but you just kind of keep a lot of the hitters. Some of our big, obviously, marquee pitchers, we keep them, but maybe some of those middle relievers and some of the closers, there's maybe some question marks with them. I could see some movement with that.
I know somebody going to bring up because we had a discussion about Giolito when they traded him and Romero for Adam Eaton, and it was like it did. I remember. I think it was that prick Colin Coward was like, no, it was Russo, Mad Dog on MLB was like, that was the dumbest trade ever. Adam Eaton's never done anything. He to give up those pieces, yada yada yada. But we saw how crucial Adam Eaton was in that run last year. But I know some fans. I haven't been on social media as much as I've been on restriction. But I know some fans are still probably talking about Giolito. Like, oh, he threw a no hitter a couple of weeks ago. Imagine having that on your staff right now. I just know that's probably what some of the fans will be probably saying right now.
I'm sure. I mean, just Washington fans in general. I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit later with the football team. I was so frustrated that I'm like, how could you find ways to be unhappy yesterday? Like, it was, for me, like, it's like, yes, they're not called the Redskins anymore, and the Washington football team, whatever. And I get that there are fans that are super hardcore about it. I mean, I have so much Redskins stuff in this room. But at the same time, just be happy they won and had a competent coach. Like, these are things we would have really desperately wanted, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And same thing with the Nationals. I mean, now that we've won it all, I'm sure the expectations are going to go through the roof. Same thing with the Capitals. People were disappointed with this season. I'm just happy we have sports at all, right? I mean, in my mind, some of this should never have happened, right? This should have, they should have never gone back. They've been able to figure it out. Even baseball, where they're having some issues, have gotten better over the last couple of weeks. There was reports of a couple of more issues this past week. I'm not sure if anything came of that, but they've done a lot better with basketball, hockey, and baseball. And so far, I haven't heard anything about the first week of the NFL, but I assume that they're testing them like crazy. They've done a better job than I thought, and I think people should just be happy we have sports. I understand we've gotten to the point where it's like, oh, we're the district of champions. We've won all these things in a row. But that's not every season. I mean, every city wants multiple champions every year. It doesn't happen, right? So we waited 20 years before we got any of these. So
man, I'm not mad at all. I'm not mad at all.
Yeah. No, I know you're not. I'm just saying fans in general are just like.
Don't even get me started. But let's get ready to go ahead and we went a little bit long on baseball to be playing too. So I'll let you guys get ready to go into basketball. Just got a bad news update from Paul. Unfortunately, he won't be able to make it tonight. He got the army down there with the wife, and
that's okay.
Up. So unfortunately, no boxing talk this week, but we damn sure gonna try to get him back on next week for boxing talk. So unfortunately, it's gonna be no 7 sport night.
Okay, it's okay. We'll make do with 6 sports. It's we'll survive, I think. So that actually buys us a little bit more time for this next segment, which is great. And Carol, I guess we'll bring you back in for Washington football talk after that.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good NBA roundtable.
All right, thank you. All right, sounds good. All right, let's bring in some of the other members of our roundtable. I know that Brian Brennan, I'm sure, is watching this Giants game with his new fresh cut. We've got DC's People's Champ in there. And Arun's disappeared for a second, but I'm sure he'll be back. And we got Tim here as well. We'll go around and say our hellos. Tim, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Loving the football doubleheader and excited to talk about these NBA series. Got a lot of good, exciting games to go over.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Brian, how are your Giants doing?
They are currently tied at 3 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers just kicked a field goal to tie it up.
Mm-hmm. Got it. I see that now. All right, DC People's Champ, how are you doing?
Gentlemen, I'm chilling. I'm sitting here representing one of the best wrestling promotions in DC, Fight Club Pro Wrestling. I'm elated for the Washington football team victory. Let's get it on.
Sounds good. All right, and we got Arun back, so that's fantastic. I'm going to give each one of you guys a series from this past week. I'll let you break it down, and then we'll talk about, as a whole group, the upcoming finals in the conferences as well. So we're going to start it off with Brian Brennan, and it was an interesting week. I know that you wanted to talk about it was the Celtics series, right? And
Yes.
So why don't you break down that series and how that ended up going?
I mean, I thought this was probably the best series of the second round, especially Game 6. Game 6 went into double overtime and was just an incredible back-and-forth game. And it's crazy to think that the Celtics were actually heading towards a sweep in this series. They were about to take a 3-0 lead, and then the shot by OG Anunoby completely saved the Raptors, kept them in the series. And honestly, I thought the Celtics were the better team in this series pretty much from the start, and they kind of showed it. In Game 7, I mean, it was a really close game. Game 7 was awesome. Just a great back and forth game between two teams. But overall, I thought the Celtics were the better team to watch in this series, the more enjoyable team to watch in this series, and I think the right team advanced. I mean, so just thinking about Game 7, the play. I just want to talk about the block by Marcus Smart, which I thought was incredible. Like that's honestly, I think maybe the James Harden block on Dort from the first round of this series, but that's honestly the best block I've seen since the LeBron James block on Iguodala in the 2016 finals. An incredible defensive play. And that, at that point, I pretty much knew when you get a defensive play like that, you're going to win the game. So I knew the Celtics were going to win the game. And even though I'm from New York, I have to say the Celtics are a joy to watch. Between Tatum, who's a rising star in the league, he plays just like his idol Kobe. Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, already mentioned. Kemba, as a UConn guy, I love Kemba. This was a great series, and I really believe the right team advanced in this series.
Sounds good. All right, DC's People Champ, can you help us break down that other Eastern Conference semifinals between the Bucks and the Heat?
This series and the ending of the series proved to me one thing is that Giannis is definitely an MVP because without him, this team was a completely different team. You look at what happened in Game 5. Middleton, like him and Lopez tried to do in Game 4, they tried to keep the team in it and they were able to do so. Game 5, they couldn't do it. I mean, and I'm sorry to steal your swag, Arun, on this one, but I had to go to stats here. You had 6 players in double figures. 4 of your 5 starters were in double figures plus 2 bench players. When you got that kind of production, you can beat any team regardless of record, rank, what have you. And that's what Miami proved in this series. I kind of thought that they would give up Game 5 and then catch them in Game 6. But without Giannis, it proved to be too much for the Bucks. And unfortunately, the top seed in the Eastern Conference and the one team out of the East that I think and I thought would have a chance against someone coming out of the West is now going home out of the bubble. And now the Eastern Conference, and I said this earlier to you guys beforehand, I have zero confidence in anybody coming out of the East winning the NBA Finals against whoever comes out of the West. I have zero confidence. But that's it. I mean, the Heat moved on. They showed they were a better team.
Yeah, it was such a weird series. I was so impressed just with the team game of the Heat. I thought that's where their strength was, is that it wasn't like there was like a superstars that were necessarily like taking it over like a LeBron or whatever, like how the Heat had to do it before. But I felt like it was a real team effort, and it was really interesting to watch. It's such a different Heat sort of squad than they historically have had before with the big three. But Eric Spoelstra has got them playing at a very high level, and he's a really great coach. I mean, you can tell by what he's got them buying in for. All right, we're going to go to the Western side of it. And Tim, I want you to break down the series that's actually still going on. I thought this would be over by now, the Clippers series, but tomorrow there will be a Game 7 in that. Can you break down what your thoughts are on that series?
Yeah, this is a really interesting series. It started out and it looked very one-sided. The Clippers won in a huge blowout in Game 1. The Nuggets had no defensive energy. There was a lot of defensive lowlights from the Joker in that game. I laugh at Barkley, but I mean, people respect his opinion. He said that the Nuggets were done after Game 1, and clearly that's not true. The Nuggets played great in Game 2. They stole a game, and I think most of the national fans that don't know either teams well, including myself, thought, they're probably going to lose in 5 or 6, but that's a good showing for them. And the Nuggets played well in games 3 and 4, but the Clippers pulled it out. Just too much Kawhi, and Paul George is playing a lot better. The Clippers are a very deep team. They maybe have the best roster of any team left, and so you assumed in Game 5 they would just wear down the Nuggets and pull it out at the end, but the Nuggets came back in the second half of Game 5, shot really well, played much better defense. Porter Jr. on their team is really coming out like a breakout star, still really young guy, but just a lot of skill there. And I was really shocked by Game 6 because, again, the Clippers had a double-digit second-half lead and blew it. And not only did they blow it, they just got completely destroyed in the fourth quarter. And Denver was hitting every single shot. Jokic was, shooting some rainbow jumpers that shouldn't really go in, and they were just sinking them. So I still pick the Clippers. I think in Game 7, it's going to be a really exciting cap to the series, but the Nuggets definitely have a chance, and I could be wrong, but I don't think the Clippers have ever gotten to the Western Conference Finals.
They have not.
They have not. Yeah, so I kind of think there's a mental block going on because this was supposed to be their year, and they were really one quarter away, and they may blow 3 straight chances. So I wonder if they'll be tight if the second half is close again. But I guess we'll see tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm going to go around and ask people, since this is the only series still going on. I'll start with Arun. Arun, do you think who do you think is going to win this series at this point?
Right now, I think the Clippers are still going to win just based on the last Game 7. We saw the Nuggets. They only scored 30 points in the second half, and I feel like the Clippers will eventually come through. Like Kawhi Leonard he won that Game 7 last year for Toronto against the 76ers, and he also did it before with the Spurs one time. So it's still, as Tim said, like the Nuggets are definitely up and coming team. They definitely could pull off the upset, but I'm picking the Clippers.
Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to pick the Clippers as well. I think Denver's honestly a little tired. Giants just scored a touchdown, by the way.
There you go.
So yeah, all right. I love it. But yeah, I'm picking the Clippers. I think Denver's a little tired. They've played this in the playoff. Their last 4 playoff series. This is their 4th straight Game 7. I think that wears on the team. But I would love to see Denver win. I really love Jokic, and Porter Jr., like Tim said, is a rising star, I feel. So I'd love to see Denver win, just because everybody said it's going to be Lakers Clippers from the start. It would be kind of funny to see it be Lakers versus somebody else, but I'm still going to go with the Clippers.
TC's People Champ, do you agree with the rest of the team?
I'm gonna go with the consensus. The Clippers. I mean, Kawhi has been in this situation before. He knows what to do in this situation. And if the Clippers can shut down Jokic and the rest of those scores, they will move on to the next round. So I will go with the consensus, Clippers.
Yeah, I think I will too. I kind of want to just pick the other team just so it's not everybody, but you're just gonna be like, if it happens, I was right all along. But I don't.
I almost did, but I said, no, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, I know. I almost did too, and then I was like, I don't know about that. So I still think the Clippers are a better team, but obviously in basketball, it's a game of making your shots, and any day anybody could get hot. So who knows? So it'll be interesting for sure. All right, let's get into the last series. Arun, the Lakers ended up asserting their dominance. What were some of your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think the Daniel House situation with him getting suspended from the bubble where he invited a lab worker into his hotel room. I mean, I think the Lakers are already big favorites, and then it just wasn't even a contest at that point because the Rockets really need 5 shooters to spread the floor, and they were competitive in those lineups. And Russell Westbrook, he makes I heard this joke from somebody. He makes bad teams good, and he makes great teams also good. So like, he were down by like. I'm glad I watched that blowout because not much happened like in that game of consequence. But Westbrook was like getting upset and all chesty, and he's like, and they got to double me, and they're like down by 28 points. It's like kind of a lack of self-awareness. And Rajon Rondo's brother was talking some mild trash to him, saying that waving goodbye, and then Westbrook's like, get him out of here. So they kicked out Rajon Rondo's brother from the bubble. The Lakers look really good right now. I think if you took a snap poll right now, they're the favorites. But then again, the Rockets, they do not like. They might have been like the most like. It might have been like one of the worst teams in the West. They might have just gotten past the Thunder because like they're really young, other than CP3. So, but it'll be really interesting. I think right now in Vegas, the Lakers would have to be the favorites to win the title, but the Clippers or the Nuggets could make an entertaining series going forward.
Yeah. So Carol just messaged me that he wants to speak on the guy getting caught. So he's going to ask a question. So
you know, I had to come in when there was some debauchery going on. Now, I heard this story and I had to come to you guys. Okay, now we know how NBA players, you know, they on the road, they get their normal, you know, extracurricular treats when they go out. So I think this bubble is really affecting their brain because they're not getting that extracurricular activity they normally get. But this cat, I actually followed this story a little bit. After he got caught and put out the bubble, his wife apparently went on Instagram and took all of his pictures off of her Instagram. So along with him getting taken out of the bubble, he's also going to be ready to go to divorce court. And I think he has like 3 or 4 kids. So that tech has just caused him a whole damn lot.
oh wow.
Shit.
I did not know any of that. So that is fantastic. I'm happy you, you
Not
brought
for
that.
him right now.
Not for him.
And he's a former Wizard.
That makes perfect sense now. When you just did the whole thing up. I mean, he was an ex-Wizard. I have no more questions.
You get to a former street ninja to know that kind of stuff. All right.
Man, you gonna stop bringing up a past, kid. I'm trying to be a better man, bro. We all have a past, bro.
Yeah, you got it, bro. You got it.
I love the voice of CP3 in our heads, you know. So like, all right,
Yeah, it's fine. Now, just wait till 2 o'clock in the morning and you hear my voice like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's like, what's going on? All righty. Well, let's break down the series that we know we've got going forward in the East, and then we can also break down the West and what we think it will be. So I'll start off with DC's People's Champ. What are your thoughts on the Eastern Conference Finals?
When I look at this, I look at Boston and I only think of 2 names, Tatum and Brown. Those 2 guys have been the catalyst for this run that Boston's on. But here's the thing. Miami has already shown, especially in the last couple of games, that they don't have to rely on 1 or 2 people to score. Like I said, game 5, they had 6 players in double figures. 6 against 2. That's not going to get it done if Boston wants to win this series. So other people are going to have to step up outside of Tatum and Brown if they're going to move on. They're the 3rd seed in this tournament against the 5th seed. They don't want to be another upset going home out of the bubble, leaving the Heat to face someone from the West, because that's not going to be a pretty series. So if I had to have a prediction, I say there's going to be an upset. I say Heat in 6.
Got it. Brian, what are your thoughts?
I don't even think if the Heat win, it's going to be that much of an upset, honestly. I think these are 2 pretty evenly matched teams. This is the first time in Eastern Conference Finals history that there's been no 1 or 2 seed. So it's a 3 versus 5 matchup, and it's the first time that's ever happened where there's been no 1 or 2 seed. So I think this is going to be a really interesting series. I think they're very evenly matched, honestly. I think these are two of the deepest teams in the Eastern Conference. They have a lot of very good players on their roster. But I agree with Champ that Brown and Tatum have been the ones that really stepped up for the Celtics. And guys like Kemba Walker, who's a notorious clutch player in his career, has not been stepping up. He was not very good in game 6 or 7 of this last series against the Raptors. So he's going to have to step up for sure. If he does, I think the Celtics can definitely win the series in 6 or 7 games. But, if that doesn't happen, the Miami Heat have a great all-around team. They can play well on defense. They can shoot the 3 with the best of them. Just a very good squad that's playing very good basketball right now. They've only lost 1 playoff games so far. And just one last thing. I'll be interested to see if Miami, because Miami's been off for about a week now. I'll be interested to see if that affects them. We've talked about this in the past in sports. If the layoff hurts or helps a team, I'll be interested to see if it hurts or helps Miami. But the Celtics are going into this right after playing a Game 7. Maybe that momentum will carry over for them.
Sounds good. I'm going to let the other two break down the two Western ones since I had you two break down the East. So, Tim, what are your thoughts? Do you think, now that we think it's going to be the Battle of LA, do you think that the Lakers will dominate? Do you think the Clippers will make a series of it? What are your thoughts?
I think it'll be a close series, but the Lakers will win. I think if you would have asked me early in the playoffs, I probably would have picked the Clippers, but I don't think anyone expected the Lakers defense to be this good. They look really strong against Houston. Once they figured out how to play against small ball, Houston really couldn't do anything. And they can beat anybody when they play that well on defense because they can definitely score. I also would have said Kawhi is probably the best player in the league early in the playoffs, but I think it might be LeBron at the very moment. They're probably 1 and 2, so I'm gonna say Lakers in 6 or 7. But I'm excited, and I wouldn't be shocked if the Clippers pull it out with their star power, great coach, good team. But it's going to be a battle. It's just sad it's not in the Staples Center.
Yeah, that would have been really cool if they had all the games in LA. And what a great tribute that would be for Kobe, the Battle of LA in his honor. Arun, we're running low on time as it's already hit over. So I'm going to let you start our segues and goodbyes. Give your final thoughts on the Western Conference things, and then maybe a quick thought on the Washington football team before we let you go.
I guess I'll pick the Clippers and the Heat. I'm glad the Washington football team got a win after being down 17-0. And my final thought is, at least there's so much sports news that we don't have to talk about John Wall right now.
that's true. All right, that's good. People have to look that one up then, I guess. So, but it is an interesting story. I do think people should look up, and I don't know if we have time for it today. But thank you, Arun, for joining us for Baseball Talk, and we'll talk to you next week. And Tim, congratulations on your Ravens. That was an exciting blowout. Any final thoughts before we let you go today?
No, more of a thought. It looks like Hayward will return at some point in that series for the Celtics against the Heat, and I think that would be a key addition for them. I mean, he's been hurt so much the past 2 years. You almost forget about him, but he's been an all-star. He's one of their best players, so that could be a big deal if he comes back and he's good.
Sounds good. All right, well, thank you so much, Tim. We'll talk to you next week and break down both conference finals. All right, Brian Brennan, how are your Giants doing, and any final thoughts that you have?
It is currently 10-3 Giants. Daniel Jones threw a beautiful touchdown, but just threw a very ugly interception to TJ Watt. So now the Steelers have the ball in Giants territory, and we'll see how that goes. Thanks for having me on. I want to give a shout out to my dad for the fantastic beard trim.
Yeah.
And let's go Yankees, Giants, Knicks, Rangers. Have a good night.
Sounds good. Thank you, Brian. And DC's People's Champ, let everyone know what's going to be happening on No Spots this week, and also your thoughts on the Washington football team.
Well, my thoughts on the Washington football team is for the first time since 2014, they won at home on opening day. That's awesome. 17-point deficit, 27 unanswered points. Amazing. Thank you, Riverboat Ron, for bringing a new culture to the Washington football team. No Spots. This Friday, it'll be the premiere episode of the G1 Climax Recall podcast series, where myself and my mystery tag team partner will be covering the G1 Climax from beginning to end. And it'll start this Friday with a full preview of the tournament. And then Sunday on the regular No Spots podcast, we're going to be talking about the week that was and everything else, plus some news about a current WWE superstar who has re-signed his contract. So you can check that out there. And again, shout out to Fight Club Pro Wrestling. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Champ. That was awesome.
Thank you, People's Champ. Great breakdown, man. Great breakdown.
Appreciate y'all.
All right, thank you. Yeah, we'll talk to them all next week. I appreciate the entire Wizards / NBA playoff roundtable, whatever we're calling them this week. But they're great, and we'll break down the Eastern Conference and Western Conference finals next week, same time. And now we're bringing in our next guest, and this week I'm going to stay with you guys for football talk because I'm just so amped. And but I'm super excited that we're going to bring in Dujanay now.
What's going on, brother? How you doing tonight, Dujanay?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great after that game yesterday, man. It was an epic game. I wasn't one of the fans that counted them out. I knew it was an early deficit, but the team was resilient, and we talked about that defense. I can't wait to, I can't wait to talk about this defense, by the way they balled out yesterday. But let me go ahead and give a quick rundown before we break this game down. The Washington football team is now 1-0 after coming back from a 17-point deficit in the second quarter with about 3 minutes left in the first half. They were able to score 27 unanswered. The defense balled out, as I just talked about a little while ago. They had 8 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, 2 interceptions, and only gave up 57 yards on the ground. That's beautiful. Uh, Dwayne Haskins had a game management day. You can tell he's been learning under Alex Smith. He didn't make any mistakes. Made a couple of bad, a couple of overthrows. We talked about the ball sale when he doesn't set his feet properly. We saw that a couple of times yesterday. But he went 17 for 31, 178 yards with a touchdown, no interceptions. Gave up 3 sacks. He had 7 rushes for 17 yards. Peyton Barber had 17 carries for 29 yards. I know, not impressive, 2.7 yard average, but he had 2 touchdowns. That's all that really matters. Antonio Gibson, the X factor we've been wondering, how he's going to fit into the offense. He had 9 carries for 36 yards, 20-yard long. He looked, like he's definitely going to fit into this offense and is going to make some things happen. Scary Terry, as DC people can't like to call him, he had 5 catches for 61 yards. Sims had 3 catches for 50 yards. He has a hell of an upside. I know we're going to talk about him a little bit. He has a hell of an upside. I like what I see in him, the athleticism. He's not that big, but he's quick, shifty, and he's not afraid to go up for the ball and get it. And Logan Thompson had the lone touchdown thrown by Haskins. He had 4 catches for 32 yards. And the Washington football team came out victorious, as DC Speakers can't mention their season opening win for the first time since 2014 and 2020. That's too long to not have a season opener win at home. Dujanay, how do you feel about this game? What did you like about this great comeback that we saw in Ron Rivera's first win as a Washington football team coach, and going through the fighting cancer, taking the IV at halftime?
I think you see a team that's taking on the identity of its coach. Youth is a good thing because youth 9 times out of 10 can be pliable, so to speak. They pick up things. They're more willing to listen, and they're more willing to buy in to something, especially to someone who's proven it. Everybody's made all the excuses about Ron. Leadership was important here, and you can see that they've adapted to that. I know a lot of people got upset and were just murdering them in the first half. And again, it takes time, especially in a time where there was no preseason, no off-season work. So some of that, to me, and I said it early, it just seemed that they were a little nervous, a little scared to be making mistakes possibly, and very rigid. Didn't seem like they were playing loose, and looked like they were trying not to make mistakes. The thing that really stood out, though, is, Ron said that, they may not beat a lot of these teams, but you're going to know that you played them. They definitely let them know, and they beat them. So I think one thing that they can take, that fans can take away for sure, is the fact that, this team has a true meaning of what it is to fight. and continue to fight and never give up. And I know we've talked about that over the last several years with all the different coaches about those teams showing the ability to do that at times. But you could tell it was a brotherhood banded together. They weren't going to go down without a fight. And man, when they came out in the second half, they showed. And I felt like the score at the end of the I think it was the score at the end of the second quarter. I think there was a score there. Whatever. When they came back out, they did what they had to do. And they made some plays to kind of keep themselves in it and make it respectable. And that's what you like to see. So very exciting to see a team actually fight back from a deficit instead of fold up the cards and look to next week.
Well, let's delve into that a little bit. We've seen this team be decimated by injuries and because of a soft training camp under a certain coach. And we were used to seeing on the flip side of our guys getting hurt. We saw a more physical team that basically wore out the Eagles. The Eagles weren't expecting, this from the Washington football team that's been going through all of this crazy stuff in all season. Though, like you said, they're taking on the identity of their coach. And they went out there and they wore them boys out. In the first quarter, I chalked it up to Doug Peterson. He's a great offensive game caller. And like you said, I think they were playing, not to make mistakes and, trying to get their feet wet. But once they locked in and we saw in-game adjustments, let that sink in for a minute. In-game adjustments. Because they, I heard folks complaining about the tight ends, Gohert or whatever the hell his name is. He had 107 yards. Ertz had the one touchdown with 30 yards receiving. So they found the way to shut that down. It's also on Carson Wentz too, trying to be too aggressive. But we have to give credit to how hard this team played. And they were basically, I started feeling sorry for the Eagles training staff because they was out there every couple of plays because somebody was getting hurt because they was getting manhandled by a team that's hungry and that's ready. And I feel like that was the most beautiful thing about this whole game, that you saw the Washington football team stand up and get stronger at the end of the game. And you saw the other team basically just lose all will and want because they was getting their butt beat. And it's refreshing to see that. Robbie, what do you say?
Yeah, so I had a couple of things. Dujanay was mentioning, and I was really thinking at the end of the first half, I thought that there was a mind game between these two coaches. And they're obviously veteran coaches, right, with the timeout situation. Like I thought,
that was kind of freaky, yeah.
Yeah, Washington football is going to have to use some timeouts here to try to preserve clock. But then they're like, no, we're not going to give you time on the other end. And then it forced the Eagles to call timeouts for them, and it backfired, right? So, and then we got the ball back. We almost scored again, right? And so the reason on the advanced stat sheets that the Eagles thought that they were going to go and do this is they're getting the ball first, second half. So we were like, we'll take some risks here, blah, 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 blah. But what they didn't consider is they kind of gave momentum away by doing that a little bit. And so to start that second half, if they can have a great defensive stop right away and get the ball back, which is what they did, then things are going to start to unravel on them, right? And so it was it was a gutsy call, by the Eagles, coaching staff, and it kind of blew up in their face.
That's what Peterson do,
right? So it was interesting, from a coaching point of view, but we didn't see that with Gruden, right? There was none of this mind games, X's and O's, trying to do it, and then he's had a tough week, going to all these, the coach that is. Getting all these IVs and barely making it through. I mean, he was going through IV treatments at halftime and have the wherewithal not to have one of his assistants or one of his other coordinators give that halftime speech, which I mean, you've got former head coaches on your staff that could have easily given that speech, especially on the defensive side, right? But they decided to go with the quarterback and give him his moment to shine and a moment to galvanize the team. And you saw that they just sort of took that momentum and that moment, and they just never looked back. And I was listening to the press conference, as my last point, today, and that press conference was glorious. It was better than anything I ever heard for the last 5 years, just understanding his insight, where he's coming from, his thought process. He's just so honest and so available to the media, and just would go into his thinking, even brought us into his home life afterwards, when someone asked him, what is it like, after that win, going home, do you share that with your wife, whatever? He could have said, I don't want to talk about my personal life, but he went into it. He said it's part of who he is. It's the culture, and he wants to share those teachable moments with his wife, and he's so excited about, and all of that. So I just thought it's so great to have such an open book, not I got to dissect the film, or all these excuses that we've gotten for the last couple of years. And it was just a breath of fresh air. And it really gives me hope that when you guys were saying we'd get 9 wins, I was like, 6 would be great. But the culture is already shifting faster than I could already imagine. And I know this is a 1 week sample size, isn't huge. We could fall on our face next week. This could be an anomaly, but things were going in the right direction.
Absolutely. And this team played a quality football team. I know people want to talk about the injuries, but I mean, these guys, they have players that they can fill in that are going to make plays. The one thing is that Washington's defense on paper showed the potential they could be on the field, unlike another team in this division who on paper looked quite well on defense, but appeared to not be able to duplicate that and replicate that on the field and put that out there on film. That's huge when you have a team that can do that. And then it's just a matter of the offense learning, working together, and getting better each week. And if they can do that, then they're going to be in a lot of games. That's exactly was my thought process coming into the season. They're going to be in a lot of games, and it's going to be a hard-fought game. They may not win all of them, and that's what Ron said too. They may not win all of them, but those teams are going to know they played a hard football team.
Yeah, we definitely saw that yesterday, and it was just refreshing to see a whole game. Like I said, the first quarter, Philly's a good team. They was out there doing their thing, running their offense. The first 15 plays are scripted. The Washington team is, starting out fresh, new scheme, new this. Scott Turner, we're going to grow with his play calling, but it was a couple of times I was, thinking I was having a Jay Gruden flashback with some of the shotguns on 3rd and 2. I'm like, sometimes just got to line up and just mash the ball down there, all this fancy stuff. But he started rolling the pocket, started doing misdirection, so I was happy about that. But Rivera, he definitely has this team in the right mindset, and we spoke about it extensively in the offseason, how we felt like he was the right guy. I didn't feel that way at the beginning until I looked into him and, saw his, resume and saw what he's done and saw how he transformed Carolina. So, I mean, this team is on the right path. Me and Dujanet, we've talked about it over and over again. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have a quality coach to develop that talent, it means nothing. And I feel like this team has had talent for the last couple of seasons, but because of the person we had running things, he didn't know how to develop talent. His ego was bigger than his skill set. So now you have a coach that's been there, done that, that's not even in that mindset, that's humble and doesn't mind having, smart guys on his staff that he's not worried about looking over his shoulder. He knows who he is. He knows what's going on. And he has his team going in the right direction. Now, talk about this defense. That boy, you talk about that defense yesterday. I was a little, upset in the first quarter, some of the miscommunications. But when Fabian Moreau made that great interception to swing the momentum right before halftime, and he didn't start on the outside. They had Darby out there. We saw the play that he gave up on 3rd 22, which really, really had me upset. I'm not even going to fake. I was over my folks' house and I was screaming at their TV. So it was wild. But when he made that interception, it was a great read, great jump on the ball, great way to pick it. And the momentum swung. And like you were mentioning about Haskins making the speech at halftime, actually no one asked him to make that speech. He just did it because he felt like that was his place and his role to do it. Like you said, coach would have normally did it, but he was getting the IV. They said, coach said, I just heard him speak up and start talking, and that's we went from there. So we're seeing the maturation of this team. He's answered all the questions that the coach gave to him in the offseason to see if he was truly the leader for this team. And I feel like he is. But Dujan, I'll let you go first about your impressions of this defense and what we saw from the second quarter on with the impressive stat line they put up. And we got to give a shout out to Ryan Kerrigan, the new franchise sack leader with 92. He had a 2-sack game with fumble recovery also. So, Dujane, what did you think about this defense? As much as we've talked about how it looked good on paper, we actually saw it on the field. We actually saw a defensive coordinator being creative and wreaking havoc on the offense, especially when they got injured. What did you take away from this?
Oh man! First of all, Jack Del Rio, understanding what he has in the pieces there. We all know that a lot of these pieces have already existed and have been on this team. Maybe a few changes that they made with the secondary, but overall, they've had these pieces here, just weren't used very well. And you see what a quality defensive coach who understands his personnel and understands how to put players in position to make plays and what that can do for a team. I know there were some miscues early, and that's going to happen, especially with no preseason. That's expected. And, guys begin to make plays, though. I've said it time and time again. If your front seven works and does the job that it needs to, it takes a lot of pressure, and it doesn't matter who you have in the secondary as long as they play sound. I still hold true to that. When you have guys like Sweat, Kerrigan, the young man Chase Young, the different types of combinations that they can throw out there. They're not lining guys up in the same spot over and over again and telegraphing where these guys are going to be. People have to figure out where these guys are going to be, and they're drawing them up. The guys in the trenches are getting busy, being aggressive, being disruptive. When you have a front seven like that, I mean, everything else is a piece of cake. And once they started getting into a rhythm and both the front and the back end really started playing together, you saw this team really, really get after it. And if they can continue to duplicate that week after week, they're going to be in a lot of ball games. Again, I'll use the Dallas Cowboys as a prime example under Marinelli. They didn't have a whole lot of guys back there in that secondary. He understood how to use a front seven that really is nowhere near as talented as this front seven under Marinelli in the time that he was there with Dallas. So, this shouldn't be a surprise that Jack Del Rio is doing what he's doing with this team when you're competent and you understand that, hey, I've got guys that, are good at doing this, that, or the other, and you're putting them in position to do what they do best. And that's what we saw on Sunday.
Yeah, real quickly, I just wanted to say I am so happy for Ryan Kerrigan. I mean, we've talked about this constantly on this show. He's my favorite football player on the team. He always puts it all out there, and he is so amazing to me and what he's able to produce on the field for as long as he's been able to. And it's great to see his maturation from this young guy who's this sort of stud all the way up to this sort of veteran leader that he now is today. And I was so happy that he got one of the game balls. I'm just so happy that I think it's funny that 91 was the number that he had to tie, which is his number, right? So I thought that was very fitting. And it was really great to see him break that record. But you were also talking about Chase Young, and I saw these glimpses of this guy, and I just see such a superstar, right? We're just seeing, just some of those first, we haven't gotten to see him in a real game yet in the burgundy and gold. And oh my God, he could be a game changer. I understand why we drafted him the way he was, and we saw what he could do in college, right? But that doesn't mean that you're always going to make the jump to the next level, right? We've seen many people be great at the college level, never make that jump. But he looks like he could be the real deal. He just looked scary good. And he's going to open up a lot for Ryan Kerrigan. I think you'll see a resurgence of Ryan Kerrigan because they are like, well, Ryan's the old guy, right? So we can't double him anymore. We've got to double these other young bucks, which will leave one-on-one for Ryan Kerrigan. And you can see what happens when that happens. So I think it's going to create all these sorts of mismatches. And it's a really great thing to see.
I think there's a lot of mismatches just outside of the linebacking core. You look at the front there. Who exactly are you going to key on? Whether it's linebacker or the defensive front, the tackles, the ends. Who exactly are you going to key on? Because they can bring your linebackers. They can switch guys up. They can do anything they want to here with the combination and the depth they have with that front seven. So, yeah, it ain't too much. I mean, you're going to pick your poison, and you hope that the poison you pick is the combination that's going to lead to success for them. Otherwise, it's pretty much a roll of the dice, a crapshoot here. So for the first time, they can pretty much dictate, what it's going to be if they come out and they're nasty and aggressive like they were in the first season opener.
Yeah, let me just go over some of these numbers. They, like I said, they had 8 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, 2 interceptions. Chase Young had 2 tackles with a sack and a half and a forced fumble. We talked about Kerrigan. He had 2 tackles with 2 sacks, forced fumble recovery. Sweat had 2 tackles with a sack. Leonidas had 2 tackles with a sack and a half. Moreau had the interception. Jimmy Moreland, he had 5 tackles and the interception. And John Bostic had 5 tackles and a sack. I mean, looking at the defensive box score, it was nice to see, everybody's contributing. They're all getting to the ball. They know what to do. They know where to be. Like I said, we saw some miscommunications in the first quarter, some into the second quarter also, but they were down 17. That's normally not a good thing for a Washington football team. The fact that they put up 27 points in the first game of the season, when we expect that rest and we expected the offense to be stagnant, but the defense continued to give them a short field. The defense got off the field on third down after, the first quarter. That third 22 still sticking. I'm still mad about that. But we saw this team, this defense take over and was like, look, we've talked about it. Ain't no more talking. Let's do it. And Chase Young, I feel sorry for opposing tackles for the next 10 to 12 years because this dude is only going to get better. We saw his motor. We saw how, even the double teams, he's breaking through double teams in his first game, a sack and a half and a forced fumble. And on the forced fumble, it was second effort. They got the forced fumble. Unfortunately, nobody was there to recover the ball. But this dude is going to be amazing as, with this defense. And Kerrigan, he might be able to play another 3-4 seasons with this dude out there. Because like I said, they can't double team him no more. So now, he's going to have free runs at quarterback sometime.
Yeah, it was inspiring to watch just them kind of come together and just get galvanized through the course of the game and just sort of feed off of each other and just really look like a team. And I just think that, as you said, 27 points, but really, I think the defense scored 14 of those. Right now, you won't see it on the box score that way, but the short field, as you mentioned, so crucial, right? Because they punted there. I mean, there was 2 times they went for on fourth down and they stopped them, right? So there was, turnovers on downs as well, short yardage situations. I love those key blitzing downs just to be able to come up the middle, come up the gut, but also not missing tackles, right? Maybe they missed the first tackle, but barely, right? Not a lot of first tackle misses, but the second tackle was a sure thing. Like, that was the problem with the Washington football team in the past, was like the second person would miss the tackle and the third person would miss the tackle, and you have to get like the 5th person to make that tackle. And by that time, they're like 25 yards down the field, that it could have been like a 7-yard gain. And so like that kills you over time. And you didn't see a lot of that. I know that was that one play in the first quarter or whatever, but over time, as they settled down, you just didn't see a lot of extra yardage or yards after the catch.
Oh yeah, they dominated. I know we got to get ready to get the hockey talk a little while. Let's go ahead and.
We can go. We got to tell you 40, so you're good.
Okay. All right, let's see. I guess we can start looking at the game next week against Arizona. We pretty much.
Well, let's not go that quickly.
Dude, your name. I was gonna say that you had some more you wanted to get off your chest. Go ahead, my brother.
You guys got a love fest. I get it. It was a great win that's never been seen. Biggest problem here, though.
Okay.
Third down conversions have to improve. This is something that has been an issue with this football team dating way back. I mean, you go pick a year. But what I will say is in the fact that I am covering the Saints as well, they had the same problems. Offense started slow. They finished the game, I believe, right around where the Redskins are. There we go. Football team. 5 of 18 on third downs. So look, it's the first game. There's plenty to that need to be cleaned up. But that's something that they have to clean up. And the 7 penalties for 55 yards also have to be cleaned up. That is another issue that this team has also had in years past.
Yeah, there
That
were a couple of stupid penalties. That one, Landon Collins, when he pushed the dude down the bounds, I was like, you didn't have to call that, but you didn't have to do that. And then that hit that I'm not sure who got flagged for that, but the hit that was so called helmet to helmet when he led with his shoulder. But this is why I hate that rule, because if the receiver is going down and the tackler is going down, it's physics. He's not going to be able to stop it midair, so he doesn't have the collision. And they called him for a 15-yard penalty. But I mean, other than that, they had a couple of jumping off sides, because they made a good point during the broadcast that with the being no crowd, it's going to be easier for the quarterback to get there with the hard snap. And we saw Chase get a couple of times, and I think Payne or Allen might have got one. But
so did they. My big thing was the special teams one. I'm happy it didn't screw us up. Was the one where coffin corner, our MVP gets it on the 5-yard line. Great play. The guy is from out of bounds. He knows he was out of bounds. He was pushed out of bounds twice, and he touched it. There's 3 other football players there. Why couldn't have any of them touched it? Like, why are you the first person to touch the ball? Like, I get that you want to. Even if it rolls 1-2 yards back, now it happens to be that they got a penalty on the re-kick. But the re-kick, they caught it on the 15. If they get a big run back there, you're talking about 25-yard penalty maybe, so.
Yeah, there's definitely still work to do. We're not saying that they played a perfect game by no means, but this is a great way to build, especially losing to the Eagles. Was it 5 or 6 in a row? Carson Wentz was 5-0 against the Washington football team. And that's the most sacks that he's ever had in one game, and that's a statement game. Especially like I mentioned, Doug Peterson, his play calling, his aggressive nature, going for it on 4th downs, no matter sometimes what quarter or what position he's in. That puts a lot of pressure on you, and for the Washington football team, coaching staff, and players to be able to step up and deal with that adversity in week 1. That's why we kept on saying for the longest time that this team is going to shock some folks. They're not going to be as bad as everyone thinks they are, because they have talent, and now they have a coach that knows what he's doing. We've been saying this for so long, and they go, "You're just a Jay Gruden hater. You're this. No, these are facts, people. If you know football, you know there's a strategy to it. It's not just, I'm going to try to outthink you, or my playbook is better than yours, so I'm going to win in the end. No, there are things that have to occur in this game for you to be successful and for you to win. And we finally have a coach that understands that. And they're not going to do anything but get better throughout. And the fact that he has good men around him that know football, which is what Jay Gruden was afraid of. We know that even with Ron not being, at 100% going through his cancer treatment, they still have quality people behind him that's going to put in a quality game plan and have this team ready to play ball, even if he's not available, which hopefully that doesn't happen.
Right, and it could galvanize them, right? They could want to play for him for that much more.
That's also, add to it also that your players get behind your coach, like they said, they're identifying, with him, and he was a hard-nosed player. He's been a hard-nosed coach since he's been coaching, and he's been pretty successful at it. So why not follow him? Why not, go down that road? So with the Nats and Dave Martinez, we saw with the Capitals with Barry Trotz. Once you buy in and believe what the guy's leading you, telling you, then the sky's the limit. So not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl or win it all, but this team is going to be, when folks looking at us crazy, talking about 8 and 9 wins, this is what we were talking about. And the Eagles are a quality team. Injuries, did affect them, but hey, they got manhandled by a tougher team.
Yep.
Really nothing else to say about that. And that's what folks need to, I wish they would be worrying about that more than they're worrying about the old name and boycotting the game. Like, if you're a true fan, you should be happy what you're seeing on the field right now, instead of worrying about some rhetoric or some, thing that you grew up with that now you want to be mad because they changed the name. Grow up. You're an adult. Life isn't fair. Adapt to it. Shut the hell up and keep it moving, or just, just shut up. It's irritating to me.
Or walk away. Why they have to keep coming back to post saying we don't want to be here anymore. You abandoned us, but I'm like, you're constantly saying it. Like, just actually go away then. Like, I don't.
Exactly. I know
We're
you
not
do.
we're not going backwards, right? We're not going to go back to that name. Some of them are like, we're going to boycott the NFL. I got on so many debates. I'll just do this for 1 minute. But I got on so many debates last night with people who were like, if we boycott, they'll go back. I'm like, this will never work. If anything, I think this was a strategic plan. They were like, hey, it's a year without fans. If there's ever a year we're going to try to slip in a change, this is it, right? Like, so if anything, this was their get out of jail free card. They're not going to go back suddenly, like do it when a year they could protest. Like, no, it's not working. Like, get over yourselves. And people like saying you're not a real fan if you're supporting the new team. And then there's like a debate about that. Like, who's a real fan? I'm like, are you kidding me? Get out of here. Just be happy we won, right? Like, just, yeah. So anyway, DJ, any final thoughts on that game before we jump into the next one?
No, that was it, man. I didn't want to rain on the parade, but those that definitely need to be fixed, and they have been long time problems that have cost them games in years past.
For sure. I see Carol celebrating.
That was I watched the Pittsburgh Giants game. I thought that was Smith Schuster, who I had in fantasy football, but unfortunately, it wasn't that score for Pittsburgh just now. That just puts them up, I believe, 15-10 right now. I think they mixed the extra point on a touchdown and they scored previous. I thought it was my guy for offensive. I'm already up, but points do count. So thought that was Smith Schuster. So I still got Tennessee defense going tonight, and I got already like a 5-point lead. I think he got Denver defense. So I pretty much got the game won, but I seen somebody put up like $120. So I'm trying to get some more points.
For sure. All right. Well, Duche, what are your thoughts on about the upcoming week while I let my dog out real quick?
It's gonna be interesting. I don't know if anybody had an opportunity to see Kyler Murray, but guy made plays, and he looks more polished than he did last year. He has some weapons in D-Hop, and my man went off. So they're gonna have to get pressure on him. Pressure though requires containment, and I think the Eagles game was a good warm up. We know Carson has the ability to move the pocket. He has the ability to escape the pocket, and they handled that pretty well. I think Jack Del Rio will try to do some things and I hate to use the words disguise or smokes and mirrors, but he's going to give him some looks that going to make him make some decisions to see how smart he really is. And they're going to try. I don't know if they're going to do anything to try to take away any one person. I think they're just going to line up and do what they do best. They're going to expect the back end to play well, but they're going to expect that front seven to be disruptive. If they can do that and be disruptive like they were last week, then they have an opportunity to win this game as well. I don't think either team is better or worse than the other. I think it's too early to say that. 1 week into the season with no preseason games. So it's going to be an interesting battle, but I believe that at the end of the day, I think they will have an opportunity to sneak another one away from a team that looked really good last week as well in the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, they definitely did shock me. They messed up my pick 'em. I think I got everybody with them defeating San Francisco. I thought San Francisco their defense was going to pretty much manhandle. But yeah, Kyler Murray, I believe they had like 95 yards rushing. Had a good game throwing. Got D-Hop out there making plays. I think the defense is going to build off of what they did because Wentz isn't as mobile as Murray, but they kept them contained. They were getting constant pressure up the middle, which is the key. You get pressure in the space, makes it harder. Murray, we know, is a smaller stature guy. So if you can get some of these big bulls to get their offensive lineman push, we saw Deron Payne manhandle a couple of guard a couple of times, just picking him up and moving him out the way. So I feel like the defensive line is going to. They got a taste of it this past week with 8 sacks. I think that might be their goal every week to get at least 8 sacks because with this front and with the speed that they have in the defensive backfield, because we saw, I was happy to see Cameron Curl out there on a couple of defensive plays. I think that he's going to be a game changer for this defense. We spoke about him extensively. You watched him closely being down in that area. But I think that he's going to be a game changer. We saw Apke make some mistakes and get flat-footed a couple of times. He still played well, not taking nothing away from him, especially, but it maybe his first or second, maybe third start of his career against a quality offense that's fast. Moreland on the outside, I wasn't too sure about that, but he stepped up big time. I wasn't a fan of Darby, but I was wondering why Moreau didn't start on the outside once they put on you, because we saw last year once he took him out the slot and put him on the outside, he was a different corner. And those two picks of those two young guys made, in the first week of the season, I think the defense is going to build off of it. And the fact that the offense was able to put up 27, even though they started out slow or was stagnant at the beginning, they got a short field, they took advantage, they got turnovers and did what needed to be done. So I think they have a good chance of winning this one in Arizona also. What about you, Robbie?
Yeah, well, it was really interesting listening to Coach and how he's talking about, because there was a question, it was like, are you going to have to win all your games with the defense being standout, or could you win other ways? That was one of the questions that was posed to him today. And he really believed that he could win a bunch of different ways, which I thought was interesting. And I think that over time, our offense will start to click. It's very young. He kept on saying, this is a team that's going to have to grow together. The entire offense is almost completely new, right? A bunch of our core players, the running backs, the wide receivers, all of it. And so it'll take some time. So he said for the first few games, they will rely heavily on the defense, but there'll be times later in the season where he thinks that the offense has an opportunity to really explode. So, it's good to hear that he doesn't think it's going to be completely on the defense the whole season, that there's going to be times where the offense is going to step up, because I did have that question in the back of my head. It was like, and that's fine. I mean, if that's how you're going to have to win, there are a lot of teams that won that way. I mean, think about the Baltimore Ravens in the past. They led by defense, and then they got enough timely scoring to win a Super Bowl, right? So I mean, it's a proven track record that defense wins championships. So if that's going to be our strong point and we can stay healthy, which has been a problem of our team in the past, I think we have a really big opportunity here, and I think we could take anybody on. And I think I'm a little nervous because I just don't know if the offensive line for Philadelphia was so bad that that's why we got 8 sacks, and whether that's like too high of a threshold or not. But I would love it for to get 8 sacks every week.
I mean, there's definitely the possibility is there with the talent that they have up front. And the fact that Allen and Payne can now rush the quarterback, that they're not in the 3-4 where they just gap responsible, that they can actually get pass rush. It's going to be a game changer. And like I said, they spoke about Ioannidis and the great job that he's done. I remember we broke him down when we first drafted him. They said that he has great physical strength, but he didn't have the technique. In those years under Tom Sula, we see what it did. This dude is playing some outstanding ball. He had 16 sacks in the last, 17 and a half sacks in the last 2 years. And they're just going to get better. The linebackers was the question mark. I feel like they played, pretty decent. I mean, Philly has the 2 tight end set that's tops in the NFL. So, I mean, they're going to get theirs. You've always had problems guarding the tight end, but it didn't kill us for the whole game. Granted, they had some drops, but that was from the team being physical and wearing their butt out all day. So I think this team definitely has an upside, and I'm feeling confident about that 9-win prediction I made on my pick. Any final thoughts, Dujane, before we get out of here and get to our hockey talk previewing next week, or any you want to talk about that great article you put out? I didn't get a chance to read it yet, but I've seen all the responses and said it's a great article. I'm gonna check it out as soon as I get a chance.
No, man, that's pretty much it. Again, I'm contributing to the Washington football team now, as I am the main and sole guy covering the New Orleans Saints. So you can catch our football team content, our football team content at sportsjourney.com. You can catch my Saints work at sportsjourney.com as well. I did put out an article in reference to Dak Prescott opening up about mental health. That is something that I struggle with every day. It has been a newfound journey for me. So I decided to write an article in reference to that. I saw a lot of people speaking out on it that I felt really, are just talking and not really knowing, being that they haven't been through it. So you can check that article out on doubletakesports.com. I appreciate my teammate and co-founder, CEO of Double Take Sports, Karita Parks, for allowing me to put that on her site. But it is all over my social media as well. So the link will be there. I pinned it to my Twitter, so you can pick it up there as well if you're having a hard time finding the link.
Yeah, it's also on our Sports on the Hill podcast Facebook page as well. So if people want to check it out there, you shared that as well. And I think I'm super happy that you did that. It's an important, really important issue. I was really upset with what Skip Bayless was saying. Obviously, Zach's very upset about it too.
Zach is not having it tonight.
Not having it. Yeah, it's about to be bedtime, which is not good. So that he'll have a struggle with his own mental health there. But it's a tough issue, right? And it's something that I've fought with. I think it's important that people get the help that they need. I think it's important that people be able to come out and speak on the issue if it's important to them. I don't think they should be silenced. I don't think any position of leadership on a football field means that you can't speak on issues of mental health. I think that's a ridiculous take, right? So I think it's important that people get to speak on whatever issues they want to. The kneeling issues, the Black Lives Matter, whatever it is. They play for our entertainment, and I understand that people are like, well, it's our advertising and it's our box office, and we should get to have some say in what they're able to do. No, they're putting their lives on the line right now during this time of COVID to play for our entertainment, so we could sit at home. We're not there watching it, but we're still enjoying it, right? So they get to have their 5 minutes to say whatever the heck they want to say. They're human too. They don't suddenly lose their freedom of speech because they put on a football uniform or whatever sport uniform. And I think that idea of shut up and play that the president of the United States has tried to put out there, that politics doesn't belong in sports because he doesn't like what they have to say about him. And I think it's just such a dangerous rhetoric. I think we try to keep politics out of our show. It's DC Sports Without the Politics, but it doesn't mean that there isn't a place for it in sports. It's just not, we try to not have a political slant on our show, right? But it doesn't mean that politics aren't important. Voting is important, speaking your mind, all of this. And I think I'm happy that you shed some light into it. I hope you continue to do that. And I hope that, other players aren't scared off by this idea that they can speak on the issues that are really important to them.
Yeah, I thank you, Robbie. And I'll be on CBS Sports in Lynchburg Wednesday talking about the article a little more, along with the NFL as well. So, people have reached out and I'm willing to talk about it. It's been a journey, and, I'm learning and still learning. So I just felt it was necessary so that people who are going through this, that they don't have to feel like they have to suffer in silence, and that they also get the help that they need, because speaking out, like Dak said, it's important and it saves lives.
Yeah, I think people would be surprised how many people actually get help. I'll be honest, and I see a therapist multiple times a month. You could put out a happy persona. You could be the best person you could be. It doesn't mean that you don't have issues or other things that you want to work through, or to even better yourself. It doesn't even have to be an issue or a negative, but just mental health and just trying to work through stuff and trying to be a better person for you and your family. It's very key, and I think I'm really happy that you shed some light into it.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
We spoke about that many times. I've been to therapy myself, so we know how that is, man. You got to talk. Everybody needs somebody to talk to. Everybody has stuff going on, but that's good stuff that they reached out to you, man. So congratulations. Get your story out there and let folks know that there's nothing wrong with saying you need help. I've been saying that for a while myself. If I didn't seek help, no telling where I'd be at right now. I know I probably wouldn't be doing this show with you guys right now.
Well, I'm happy that we're all here. We can share these stories and, and be able to be a part of each other's lives, through sports and through, even beyond. I feel very fortunate that we've gotten to share this 5-year journey so far, and who knows where it will all end up. But definitely, Dujanet, if you get a link to that, that appearance, I'd love to see it. And we could love to share it on our page as well.
And I chimed in just because I want to say thank you. It's so important. And I truly am just like, this is the time. It was spot on. So thank you. And I think it's, things that need to be out there, especially during COVID, but even prior to that. And it doesn't matter your status, celebrity, sports, whatever, it doesn't matter. So thank you.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, Dujane. Well, if you have any final thoughts, or we'll let you move on and have a good rest of your evening.
I'm good, man. Thank you guys so much for having me on, and look forward to being back on again soon.
Sounds good.
All right,
Thank
man.
you.
Talk to you later, bro.
All right. And with that, I see that this hockey game isn't going the way that either Anna or I would like. Yes. So, unfortunately.
Yeah, just to bring that up when it happened. It was a great play by Vegas. They hit the up man Chandler Stevenson, ex-Capital, and he had a semi breakaway where he beat the goalie what's that, seven hole, I believe, and made a nice play to give the Golden Knights the 1-0 lead. They're still down in the series 3-1. I know we're about to break that down. Well, you go ahead and let it start, and I need to go make a pit stop real quick. I'll be right back.
All right, sounds good. All right, all right, Anna. Well, let's start off with the other conference because we'll get into this, but just this Tampa Bay Islanders situation.
It's funny. I think you and I think we spoke last week, and we were saying that Tampa Bay was the favorite. For me, they still are the favorite. But I do think that the Islanders are not going to go out, without a fight. And I think even though it started off with them, with Tampa Bay, at this like 2-1, or 2-0, I should say, kicking off the series, the Islanders still have it. They still are a team that plays 60 minutes. They still are a team that is not going to stop. And certainly Barry Trotz is going to coach and do what he does. But I don't know. I'm still feeling Tampa Bay is going to take it though.
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, I thought the Islanders had really good opportunities throughout these first 4 games, and they were only able to convert one of them, right? And I think we saw this before, where I definitely think the Islanders are going to win the next one, if I were to be a betting person, right? So I think they'll win tomorrow, which is Tuesday. But to try to win 3 in a row when you're down, 3-1, we've seen teams be able to force a Game 7, but so far, and we've had 3 of those situations where teams were up 3-1, force a Game 7 in the last round,
right?
But none of them converted on that Game 7. They
all
fell short. I just think, with the ability to make adjustments and lack of crowd and all that sort of stuff, it's hard to keep on winning and make adjustments to the adjustments enough to win 3 in a row in this scenario.
100%.
I think Barry Trotz may force a Game 7, though. I think they'll definitely win the next one. I'm not sure what will happen in Game 6. Carol, were you able to watch any of the Islanders and Tampa Bay series?
Yeah, it was a little disappointing. I'm rooting for Trotz. Tampa has been showing their superior talent on the ice. But I kind of agree with you, Robbie. I think that Trotz can still make a series out of it. I mean, I think it'll be hard to, come back and force a Game 7, especially against Tampa. But if anybody can do it, I feel like Trotz and his squad can do it. They come out playing solid hockey and, have to be more disciplined defensively. I think that's been their issue. And we saw that with some of the other Caps teams, that they'll play solid defense for a while, but then they'll start taking chances and start second guessing the game plan. And then it normally doesn't go the way you want when you do that. We saw once the Capitals brought in under Trotz and they stuck with the game plan, we saw that it worked seamlessly. So I think he's just having some of those growing pains with this young team. Hopefully they can lock in and, maybe get the momentum, get a good game, because they've been outplayed in the games they've lost. They've been outplayed pretty badly. So,
except for the one where they lost. Was it an overtime or no? It wasn't an overtime. It was like a couple of seconds before the end of the game or whatever.
The game. Yeah, that was, to me, that was their best game, even though they did win. What was it, Game 3?
Right.
I feel like that was their best game that they played. Unfortunately, they gave up the goal late, but if they can mimic that and get a fortunate bounce like Tampa did, then, it make it a whole different series. So I think they're still in it, along with Golden Knights. They're currently up 1-0 right now. So it just got to take it one game at a time. And if they can do it, if it's a team that can do it, I think a Trotz-led team can do it.
Definitely. I just think the scoring is such a challenge, right? Tampa Bay's got so much firepower. It's
Yeah.
hard to you keep a couple lines down and then someone else pops up, right? So it becomes this difficulty, especially Trotz had a lot more firepower on his side,
Yeah.
With the Capitals than he does with the Islanders. I mean, I'm so impressed. And talking to other Islanders fans, they're so impressed. Like, they didn't ever expect to be here. Like, they had a play-in series. Like, they barely made the playoffs, right? So, like, it's an incredible story. And it shows, like, man, if we had Trotz, right? That's why people keep saying that, because it's like.
Hey, man. I said it when it happened. I said I feel like it was a mistake us not re-signing him, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. But
Coaching, like we spoke about in the football segment, coaching makes a difference. We've been saying that for years, and everybody would say, you're just a J. Like, no, just like players have to develop, coaches have to develop also. And if your coach isn't developing you and themselves at the same time, you're not going to be successful. And it's the fact that Trotz has went through all of those growing pains through all of those years down in Nashville with solid defense, solid goaltending, but no offense. And then the fact that he came, to the Capitals, it took him a couple of years to get him to buy in. But once they did, you get the ultimate goal, and to not re-sign and see if you can do it again, I think both sides are going to have regrets about that in the end of their hockey careers.
Yeah, because I think I will be interesting to see, but I don't know. I mean, I'm happy that he got out of the second round, right? So, and then he's obviously into the third round, but I do wonder if that team is enough to get him through. Like, he's a great coach. He's got a great trap system, but I just don't. The dam's going to break in my mind. I just don't see them being able to hold a team down for that long.
Well, for me, honestly, it was that Kucherov goal on Wednesday night where it was like, 9 seconds left in the third, and all of a sudden, here is this player that I think a lot of us were kind of like, okay, let's see it. Like, we know the hype, we know it's there, and to score the last 9 seconds and then win, that to me kind of was like, okay, Tampa Bay has got a fire under them, and I don't think the Islanders saw that coming, So I think it's...
Well, the Islanders were playing for overtime, right? Because they were just saying 10 seconds left. We're going to get a fresh sheet of ice. We just got to make it to overtime. And they just took the foot off the gas for just a second, and that's all you need. That's what I'm saying. Is like, can you play full 60-minute hockey 3 games in a row without letting, because any mistake in Tampa Bay's got it in the back of your net. And it's
that's where the pressure comes in, that being with your back up against the wall, knowing that if you don't do this, it's going to be your season. Sometimes that's what, players need to straighten up and play the right way for the whole time, because they know if they don't, it's over. And they haven't, like I said, they weren't expecting to get this far. So what if they do actually play the right way for 3 straight games and can, force and make their way to the Stanley Cup final? Then
they're dangerous.
What might happen. So when you're back against the wall, that might be the ultimate, kick in the butt that they need now. You never know. It can go either way. It sucks that
hockey's a weird sport like that. I agree.
I agree 100%.
I just think
like
that
the game the other day when they had to go to the replay when we thought he made a great save, but it actually was a goal. That swung momentum. I think that gave him like a two goal lead at that time, instead of it being still a 1-goal game. So the puck bounce is funny, man. You never know. I'm not going to, like I say, I'm a Trotz fan. I'm rooting for him. And being that the 2 teams in the West, I don't really like, if he doesn't win, then I got to root for Tampa. So I'd rather root for Trotz than root for Tampa.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I think that they could do it again for 2 games, just that sustained success, 3 games in a row, and especially in the Game 7 when then Tampa Bay's back is against the wall and they've got that sort of energy as well. So I agree, anything's possible, but I just think
I think if they can force Game 7, they can steal this series, because Tampa, the game they had against the Capitals, those 2 games that they got shut out in Game 6 and 7. That's going to be in their mind if they can force a Game 7. And being that it's Barry Trotz, the coach, they're gonna have some sweaty knuckles out there if they can force Game 7. And then you can force Game 7, then it's anybody's game, especially on neutral ice with no fans.
Yeah. And I think that again, I kind of give those accolades to Tampa Bay for not having their top players out and just being outstanding and playing as hard as they have. And then you have the Kucherov, the vet players coming out that 9 seconds left. That just makes for that like fantastic hockey. But then on the flip side, when you're looking at the Islanders when they played on September 11th, you are hearing that Beauvillier, Nelson, Pageau. I was like, I'm saying this like 100,000 different ways wrong.
Peugeot is right.
But you're seeing those players, they're young, they're consistent, and they are really skilled. So obviously, like they kind of have like that's that consistency going for that team. I guess I can acknowledge that Clutterbuck also scored, but
yeah, I was gonna say, are we gonna put that in there, right? Yeah.
But he did, yes, and whatever. But just the fact that they have that really those strong names that are coming out consistently is like, oh my God, like there you go. So it's up in the air, and I guess we will see what happens tomorrow night. But I'm still thinking Tampa Bay is gonna say it's their time.
Yeah. So in this series, how did Dallas shock the world and give us this 3-1? I know that might not be a 3-1 lead for long, but at least going into this game, it was. How did their week go?
I love it.
Yeah.
I like honestly have to say, I mean, it just like we all know how I feel about the Knights, but I will say that this is the most fantastic, skilled team from Dallas that I have seen in a long time. And I know there's a ton of people out there who've been arguing with me about they're dirty players and they're this and they're that. Really, well, they're playing against the Knights. So, tit for tat on that one. Sorry. But I feel like we are just seeing outstanding plays from a Jamie Benn, from a Tyler Seguin, goalie wise, it's just been like, this is a matchup that I truly love. And I really feel like it is not just skill and 60 minutes. It's, there's that grit there too. Like Ryan Reeves is going to drop the gloves and do some crappy plays with just about anybody he can. And Dallas isn't backing down, and I love it. And I think that for me, I'm okay to see them go all the way because they earned it. They're not, to me, they're not playing dirty hockey.
There's just such an interesting matchup issue, right?
Yeah.
Because like I didn't think anyone could take Vegas out, but like I think that they play a lot of that same physical style, and
Right.
So the problem is if Vegas is playing their style, they're kind of playing into Dallas's favor as well, where a lot of other teams I wouldn't say we could take advantage of that, and
Right.
so. But it's been really exciting, and just the goaltending for Dallas is what I found amazing. Just incredible save after incredible save, and just keeping them in a lot of these very close games where just a goal could really change the game, if not the series. But yet, they're able to just make these quality saves time and time again. Carol, what are some of your thoughts on the series?
It's definitely been interesting. Dallas has always been an intriguing team. Like I said, they've always had the Capitals number when they go down there. They're at home, but excuse me, they have like a quiet offense. It doesn't really jump out at you, but you look up, you're down 3-0. Like, hold up, how did we get here? And they play solid defense. They play a frustrating defense to take away time and space, and they're physical with the forecheck, just like similar to what the Capitals do. So I mean, they're an intriguing team. I mean, the only reason why I'm not really a fan of it is because they dominate the Capitals, but other than that, they're a good team that has, like I say, they don't have scary offense, but they have a potent offense when it needs to be. When they're clicking, and they get the dirty goals. They can, brand it out in front. They can use the forecheck. They can, they have a decent power play. Nothing that really scares you, but if they need to be effective, they can be. And, it's I can't root for a Dallas team, but I mean, I'm not really a Golden Knights fan. I really don't like Dallas. I really don't have a dog in the fight in this one. I'm watching this game now. And like I said, the play that Chandler Stevenson made was a nice play that might swing momentum for Vegas. Maybe they can get some momentum and force another game and avoid elimination. Who knows? But it's second period is about to start. Oh, it's already started. Watching both football and hockey. I can't even. I think it's about the second period.
It's about to start right now.
Yeah, about to drop the puck now. Okay, yeah. So it's still 1-0. Dallas looking to tie it up. Still 16-10. Steelers over the Giants. Daniel Jones is in the zone on this drive. He's 5 for 6, 50 yards, looking to try to take the lead on this drive there at the 40-yard line of Pittsburgh. He takes off out the pocket.
Oh, wow.
Looked like he barely got the first down, or he might be short. It was 3rd and 5.
Oh, yeah, he was short. So he's got a.
He ducked out. He didn't extend the ball.
He didn't extend it, yeah.
He ducked. He saw the defender coming, so he ducked a little bit instead of extending the ball like you normally see him. Yeah, it was actually 2 defenders. That looked kind of close.
Yeah, no, he didn't. He got scared. He got scared.
Yeah,
I don't blame him. There's 2 guys right there.
It was a safety burn down on him.
Yeah, he was gonna get knocked the F out if he had continued there. So I get it.
Yeah, they're going for it. I mean,
of course. I think it's the right play, especially where it is. But it's crazy because their running game has been so bad today. Oh, wow.
That is the on the opposite side for a 2-yard gain to get the first.
That's the only way they're going to get Barkley going. He's like got -2 yards on 12 rushes or something. So
yeah, I'm going against him in fantasy, so I'm loving that. And
yeah.
So yeah, I'm comfortable now, and I still got Tennessee defense going in next.
And that's a terrible throw. That play works. That is exactly what they tell you never to do. Throw across your body, across all those players. Like that's an easy run back to the house if that's not put it in the right spot.
It's different now. Like we talking about Doug Peterson, he goes for 4th down in the second quarter on his 40 sometimes.
Yeah.
Those are things that were cardinal sins you never do, especially when I was coaching. Now it's looked at being aggressive and trusting your offense.
Yeah, how would you not run on such a half-yard gain like that? Like, I mean, I just like back in the day, it's always smash mouth football, half-yard, 4th down, you're running it. I mean,
you thought about these offensive coordinators. Sometimes they outthink themselves and overthink themselves. So
that almost cost them. I mean, because he drops that, and that's not an easy catch.
I remember who we're talking about here. We're talking about the clapper, Jason Garrett. Come on.
Right. All right, but anyway,
the hockey.
There's really not much to say. Like I will say I sat on the couch all day yesterday and was flipping through NFL. And then hockey was on at 3, PGA, and like others. But it was just a day of fantastic sports. But I will say that I'm in a hockey pool every year with my brother-in-laws, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna do it this year. Like it's nope. And then I got talked into it. Doesn't really take much apparently. And I will say, like, I had the Washington football team down, and the little like link or whatever on the website is it was like, just so you know, like this is a team that this is a negative, like don't do this and don't do that. And my husband, who could give a shit about sports, was like, why don't you listen to your gut? I'm like, I'm going to from now on. I said, because I had Washington down to say, new coach, new everything. Like they're going to do this, especially against the Eagles. And I was so that they won, but that I lost. But I also picked the Niners.
I'm with you. So. I also picked the Eagles in that, but I often strategically bet against my team because my dad always taught me bet against your team because then you're happy either way. Either you got the bet right or your team won.
That's a good thing. And I don't know what happened to my Niners.
Right. So
that's why I only bet food and beer now, because if I lose, I'm gonna crack a beer when I want to eat some of the food that I bought over to them. I'm not gonna lose any money.
Right. Smart. So all right. So Dallas just got on the power play, an interference call on Vegas. So let's see in the early second period here if they can put something on the board. Their power play has been a bit up and down, I believe.
Yeah, it's definitely not consistent.
Yeah, so they definitely have some sharpshooters on it.
Yeah.
So they can do some damage. And as Carol was alluding to earlier, Dallas likes to pile on goals. I feel like once they get the first one in this game, they're going to get like 2 or 3. But it's like,
Right.
are they going to get the first one, right? So it's, that's really, this could be a big pivotal moment in that sort of shift.
And I know it probably sound like the super broken record, but I am still waiting for that, whether it's Dallas or whomever, to really go up against Ryan Reeves, because he is playing such dirty hockey that it's disappointing to see, because you just want to see players out there to play the game, and he's out there as soon as his skates hit the ice. It's just out to hurt, to injure, to whatever, and it's not necessary. And I just wish, it's like, come on, like with Tommy, we saw it, and then he grew into knowing that he has the skills and matured as a player. This player is just frustrating the hell out of me, and so I'm waiting.
But maybe he has nothing more to give. Maybe that's all he is.
Yeah. And that's just it. It's like, he's just like the bully on ice, and you want to say, and I know people are like, oh, but if he was on your team, no. Like, I don't like Dmitry Orlov, and he's on the Capitol, like, because, come on. But he's the one that's sticking out in the series that I'm like, just play hockey. You're in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and yes, it's COVID and whatever, so make the most of it. Why do you have to go out there to intentionally hurt players? And that just irks me. So that's what I think, I want to see the Stars really kind of push up against him, because he is just doing so many dirty hits, and they're just not calling him on it at all. But we'll see. And it is kind of hard. What's that?
They're at a 3-1, so they pretty much got the result that they want. If he does something too outlandish, somebody going to drop the club with him, but they're happy they're up 3-1. They're going to read that, maybe, later on in this game, if they get a lead, and, they might do something later on. But I know their number one goal is to close this series out. That's what Reeves does. He wants to get under your skin and make you do something to take out one of your, top guys to get him, because he's not one of the top guys. So they're playing it right. Hopefully the league, gets it right going forward. Maybe, like we spoke about before, it might have something to do with the COVID and the bubble and they being more lenient or whatever. But hopefully when things get back to normal, they do correct it, because there has been some inconsistencies in these some of these calls in the postseason.
Yeah, and the simple fact that I have to sit here and praise Radulov is like kind of killing me, because if the Stars were playing the Caps, he would be one of those players, and I'm like, I can't stand that guy. But you know what? He's I don't know. And they go into overtime, and he scores 31 seconds and gets the game-winning goal at overtime for the Stars. Good for him. So I'm okay with it. And I don't know, I kind of feel the same way, like when it comes to Tampa Bay and the Islanders. I'd like to see Tampa Bay and the Stars. That's who I'm hoping for. But if the Islanders get in there, then it's well-deserved, because they've got those players that are just sick. There's just no other way to say it. The talent on that team is incredible.
Is that a dive? I don't know if I consider that a penalty. I want to see it again, but
I gotta put my glasses on.
Yeah,
to watch.
The Stars.
I know people say they're quite theatrical, but I'm like, oh, please.
Yeah, it just, I don't know. I just feel like Vegas just sold that. I mean, he could have maybe gotten a bit of a stick in there, but it looks like they, I don't know. I wouldn't call that in this type of a playoff game. But
they give up one, they're going to even it out. So if it didn't look blatant like an embellishment, they'll let it slide. But I do like they do call it embellishment sometimes. So at least they do recognize that some of the players are doing that, unlike the NBA flopping rule. But that's
soccer.
Right.
Soccer. Like somebody stopping off the stand sometimes. Like, oh, that should be hilarious sometimes.
Yeah.
It is. So I remember trying to watch it with my kids, trying to get them into it. I was like, listen, hey, your mom used to be a goalie, and like, soccer's so great. And then they would watch something and be like, how come he's on this field rolling around, fake crying? I was like, I got nothing. I can't even try.
So real quickly, a scoring update. I was just the Giants were about to score a touchdown and they intercepted it. And so then the Steelers had the ball, and now it looks like they may have just given it back to the Giants. The Steelers, of course, are all saying that they've got the ball back, but it's one of those
big pile of humanity right now.
Yeah, it's one of those rugby scrimmages that who knows what's going on in the back.
I saw it's people running, and next thing I saw was a pile on the ground. Like, oh Lord, what the happened? All that.
There's probably a lot of eye poking and gouging of ribs. Who knows what goes on down there. But
It's all good. Well, we'll see what happens within this next week or so.
That was a good strip.
That was a great strip. I did not see that the first time. Oh, it does look like he jumped on it at least initially. So it'd be interesting to see if confirmed possession.
Smith to my boy looked like he got the recovery. Smith shoots to the wide receiver. He right there on the spot. He was standing there. I think like he recovered it for Pittsburgh. Yeah, they got the ball back. Thank goodness.
Oh wow!
See if he can give me a touchdown, give me some more points for fantasy.
Sounds good. All right. Well, Anna, any final thoughts about either of these series? I know we don't have as much to break down anymore because we're kind of down to it. But
no, I appreciate it. I was ready for the whole is there really anything to talk about? Between like the basketball and baseball and then of course football starting up. But I appreciate the time, and like I said, I'm still watching it. I'm still admiring the skill. These teams definitely deserve to be where they are right now. But I think when it comes down to just those two in the Stanley Cup, it'll just be fantastic hockey. It's going to be good. It's going to be 60 minutes. I don't see there's not going to be a shutout, which is always good. So we'll see what happens.
Right. No, it's been really exciting. What
happens with the Niners next week?
Yes. It will. It's been exciting, and I'm gonna enjoy the rest of these conference finals and the Stanley Cup finals. So we'll still continue to cover it because we're gonna have a couple of months without hockey because it looks like currently they're saying sometime December if we're lucky.
Yeah.
Right now, the rumor, I just want to put that out there, of how they're going to even do it is they were talking about having a few different bubble sites and then teams rotate in and out of these bubble sites. So they have a couple weeks at home, then they go to a bubble site, play a couple of games against a couple other teams, then they break, go to a different bubble site, match up with different ones.
The only probably light at the end of the tunnel with that is the fact that the NHL has done fantastic during COVID with the keeping them separate in the hotels, in the bubble. But that's just a couple of teams. There's half the amount of teams. So to do it for the full season would be. That would be hard, and that's going to be hard on the players and
their families. Well, and then they also talked about maybe delaying it one more month, trying to get it to January. We can maybe have some fans in the stadiums or something, but I'm not sure enough is going to change between now and then where that's going to be viable. Obviously, I hope that a cure is right around the corner and we can all get together and watch sports and the way it was, but I don't see enough that changing quickly enough for me to think that 2 months is going to be, the cure is going to be here and enough people are going to have it and, all that sort of stuff. So
if I wasn't teaching, I would be like, oh yeah, let's hope for the best. But being in the school system as you are, it's just not going to work in our favor.
It's tough because I'm torn. Obviously my job I can do remotely, but I talk to teachers every day and it's really hard for them. And especially I talked to a kindergarten teacher the other day and she was just telling me how much of a struggle it is to get these kids to stay focused on an iPad for a whole day. Can you imagine? Kids will watch it if it's like a cartoon on their iPad, but they're not going to listen to a teacher or not make funny faces or take it seriously. And
it's challenging for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. So best of luck for continued success in that. I have the fortunate job where I just take pictures of the successful moments and put them online. I have the easiest part of that job.
The happy
But,
land.
yeah, exactly. I Photoshop everyone have smiles. I take a couple of different pictures. I take their best smiles from different ones and make a collage, right? So
Everyone's happy.
everyone's
It's all
happy.
good.
It's all perfect. No one's upset by this at all.
Right.
Especially not the parents who get to watch them at home.
Of course
So,
not. Of
yeah.
course not. Well, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate your time. Let's hope next week we have a Stanley Cup. Well, we should, because
we should know the teams,
Yeah.
I believe, by that point.
We
And
should know by next week.
yeah, so we'll
I'll
either
get my freedom from Facebook jail on next Tuesday, so I can finally get out.
Time to
on my
celebrate.
page again.
yes.
And
Well,
Carol,
we should
you have
all
to
take.
keep me. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say we should all take bets on how long he stays out of jail.
I'm not going back, man. I've learned I'm no longer discussing politics on social media.
It's on the record, right?
It's
Right.
on there. I'm no longer. This 30-day bid is bad. I did a 90-day bid where they just wouldn't let me share stuff, which was okay because I could still post and comment. But this 30 days without being able to put no content out, man, it's killing me, man. So yeah, I'm not going back. If you got a problem with my politics, I'm just gonna block you from now on. I ain't got time for it. I got too much other stuff going on.
There you
I'm
go.
not with y'all fools no more. So yeah, things is gonna be good in another week or so. I can finally get back to doing my social media.
And is it the end of this month that you think that awesome Sports on the Hill logo is going to be on a sweatshirt?
Oh, most definitely. I was actually speaking to Eric Kusa, my man inside. He got some hats in today, so I'm about to get some hats done. I believe he's supposed to be getting some more fall stuff coming in. I believe at the second week. I think he said the third week of the month. So I'm gonna check with him this week.
Cool.
And see what's up because I definitely need some new gear for the wintertime.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants any gear right now, though, I do suggest the hoodies and stuff on our website are fantastic.
Yeah, most definitely. The
Yeah,
SportsOTHP website. Go check it out. Click the apparel line. I still got my hoodies from last year. I'll be rocking those too. Don't worry, you're going to see me right. I don't wear nothing but Sports on the Hill podcast.
Those are really comfortable. Like even if it wasn't our podcast, I would rep it just because it's like a really comfortable hoodie. So I recommend that. And there's also hockey championship ones that we've still kept up there. So if you still want to rip the 2018 champions, we've got both the District of Champions one, but also a specific Capitals hockey, DC hockey champions gear as well. So we keep all that gear up there. But Anna, we really appreciate your time as always, and we look forward to continuing to break it down all the way through the Stanley Cup Finals. Yeah. And good luck for your 49ers next week. Hopefully we beat one of your division rivals.
Right.
And
I'm like I was secretly pulling for Washington yesterday, and then I was like, but wait a second, am I fool? But aside from that, in my heart, I was pulling for Washington. But the San Francisco is like, what just happened here? So we're gonna have to regroup and come back and hope for the best for Jimmy G. But yes, I will definitely talk to you guys next week. And thanks so much for your time.
Sounds good. Thank you.
We'll
talk to you next week.
I appreciate it. Dallas just had a nice chance to tie the game up, but unfortunately weren't able to score. But it was very interesting. And the other thing is I was supposed to be, if it wasn't for this COVID, I was supposed to be going over to Arizona for this week 2 matchup. But unfortunately COVID and no fans in the stands have screwed that up for me. So unfortunately I'll be watching from here instead of in Arizona. I've been trying to get to Arizona for the longest time. I want to go to the Grand Canyon, Robbie. What about you?
I know. I've always wanted to go as well. I've never been to Arizona. It's definitely a place on my list as well. So
yeah, man. I want to get to the Grand Canyon, man. I've seen movies about it. I've read about it. I've watched documentaries about it. I want to see it for myself.
Yeah, no, there's so many great things in America that I definitely want to check out. And yeah, it's been a good show. We got a lot in there. We covered 6 teams as per usual. I'll even add another one saying that U.S. Open was a crazy final with one guy going up 2-0 and the other guy coming back and winning in a tiebreaker in the 5th set. So that was kind of nuts. Just a crazy sports day yesterday, and it was really kind of cool to see like the nexus of sports. Last Thursday was the first time, I believe, ever in history where they all played on the same day. And then it also happened on Sunday. So I know we'll have a little bit of a lull once the NBA playoffs and the hockey playoffs end and baseball ends, and then it'll just be football. But we're trying to enjoy this crazy time now that we're usually experiencing like late November, December type of thing. But it's been a fun time, lots of great sports, and always fun to mix it up with our whole team. And I really appreciate everyone for coming through today. Our NBA roundtable, Anna for coming through, Dujanay, Arun with the join us for the baseball talk. It's been a great show, and I really appreciate all the support and love for the podcast. People sharing it, people loving all the different stuff that we're doing out there. And any final thoughts that you have? Well, I just check to see if there's any questions.
Sure. Like the Steelers have just added a field goal to make it 19-10 over the Giants. Fourth quarter just started, 14 minutes and 19 seconds left. Giants are looking to try to get back in this game, try to see if they can get their first win of the season. Make sure you check out, as Robbie mentioned, the website, sportsothp.com. Make sure you check out the streaming live. We're streaming live on YouTube, Periscope, Facebook. I'll be back up in another week or two on my Facebook page. Make sure you check out At the Bar Radio on Sundays. We'll be back doing the show this Sunday. No telling what we'll be talking about, but you get to see the other side of CP3. It's not just sports. We talk some politics. We talk some music, independent music, that is, current events, entertainment news, and just, talk about real stuff in general. Be on the lookout. We were shooting a Renegade video for money. You've heard us play his music on here before. I haven't really got a chance to integrate that into the new set that we have, but definitely be on the lookout for that. As I mentioned, check out the website for the District of Champions apparel. Hit me up for the Sports OTHP apparel. Gonna have some more stuff coming out. Like I said, you got some hats in. I'm about to get some masks done. So appreciate all the love and support. Just keep on continuing to push the movement and let folks know it's real DC sports coverage out here, not just booty poo stuff they got on the radio that folks don't even belong talking about sports on the radio. But be on the lookout, man. We got some nice things in the works. We got we're making some connections with some folks in the local sports community. So be on the lookout. We're gonna have some interviews coming up with some hopeful ex-players that Robbie's been working on. I got some things that I'm working on. So be on the lookout. I'm also starting to dibble dabble and trying to get into some of this local mainstream media, see if I can get my foot in the door with all the stuff we've been doing. It's going to be kind of hard, but be on the lookout for your boy CP3, live from the lab, Sports OTHP, True Radio Network, Sports OTHP Apparel, Beats by CP3, Sports OTHP Entertainment. We got so much stuff going on, it's crazy. But we're going to get out of here. And look like I lost my signal real quick again. Luckily, it's at the end of the show.
Real quickly, I just want to give a shout out to Mark Moore. He said, trust the climb. He's worried a little bit about our secondary. Just hope the injury bug stays away this year. So he was responding back to some stuff we were saying earlier. And I do want to say that I did talk to Walt. He is interested, Walter Roberts, a former Washington Redskins, and coming in. So we're still hammering out a date, but it'd be exciting to have a ex-ball player from way back in the day on. We'll probably do that as a separate show just because I want to give it the time, and we try to cram so much into this show. I just don't think it would be fair to him. So stay tuned, as Carol was alluding to. It would probably be on a Thursday. We're looking at the 1st and the 8th as our two potential dates. So as we get a little bit closer to that in October, that would be, we'll definitely let everybody know about that, because that'll be a very special interview, something a little different than we've done from like the week-to-week stuff that we normally do. But I'm looking forward to it, because I really loved our Doc Walker interview as part of our top 10. And I'm hoping that that'll be another fabulous interview. We're also looking to get some fantasy sports in there, some boxing, a whole bunch of things coming forward. Again, Vegas up 1-0 over Dallas. It's got about 7 minutes left in that second period. I think we can end it there. But thanks for everyone for tuning in. Hail to the Washington football team, and hopefully they get another victory, and we can do another Victory Tuesday. We don't play, unfortunately, the theme song anymore, which is sad. We'll have to find another victory tune to put on in the future. But I appreciate all the support and love on the page. Make sure you share all of our stuff. And tomorrow on sportsothp.com, all the videos and podcasts will be up and available for everybody.
Yeah, sure. Make sure you check out them on the podcast platforms tomorrow. I know Robbie will probably have them up tomorrow, probably tonight, who knows. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, a couple of other ones I'm still not familiar with, but Make sure you check us out. Share. Let the folks know it's real DC sports coverage out here. There's real sports coverage out here, and we're gonna bring you the best news around DC sports or the politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do. And we out. We'll see you next week.